Okay. All right. So yeah, just this, this is, my last meeting in terms of it being, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, I come on at 6. And it says that on the website. So from this point forward, it's just going to be a thing about, people that are on my mailing list. If, there's ever an issue that needs to be discussed, I can send out an email. As everybody knows right now, I really only come on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6, just in case any newbies come on, because on the website it says, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday at 6, Zoom meeting. So I got to be here for that. But I'm going to take that off the site and pretty much just, get on our mailing list, to stay informed, right? And then if anything comes up, because usually that's only, when most people come on anyway is when I send out an email invite because we're talking about an issue or something. But when Tave came on tonight, I told Tave we had another wig out. So I'm going to throw this out just since it's kind of the last video in my efforts here with righteousarmy.org. I'm going to mute you just for a second. All right, Joe, I am going to mute you, Joe.
Okay.
Just for noise purposes in the background or whatever, but feel free to, unmute and come in when you got something to say. Lost my train of thought because of that. See, those little distractions, man, they can make us lose our focus. So yeah, just
you were telling Tave you're going to hang on a minute.
Right. Yeah, I told Tave, I said, we got some more craziness. So yeah, I'm going to kind of throw it out. In a way, I'm doing this too, just to record what I have had to go through, right? As the National Militia Coordinator, right? Self-proclaimed, right? Because I put forth this effort to say, patriots, conservatives, Christians, Trump supporters, where are they all at? We all need to organize based on the fact that we are militia, do it lawful, peaceful, smart, transparent, open, right? And start organizing. So this will probably end with Eric when he comes on. He should be on shortly because he's kind of the best note, I think, a good end note for what everything I'm going to say. But just to put it on record, because I never really addressed these issues on record, we had a fellow named Brian, right, out in New Mexico. I guess I won't say his last name, Brian out in New Mexico, who was very gung-ho from the get-go, amongst, the 30, 40, 50 people who have ever came into these Zoom meetings. He bought the I Am Militia t-shirts, he got business cards, he bought a radio, he wanted to host national militia meetings. He was gung-ho. And in one meeting, a couple occasions actually, I remember him specifically saying in a meeting, rah, rah for Mike here. How come nobody's doing this? Thank God for Mike. Mike's doing this thing. We got 330 million people in this nation, and only Mike has put forth this kind of an effort. Where's everybody else? So that person who was that gung-ho ended up wigging out on us in the sense that the first time it was after we had a meeting, and after a meeting, I noticed he sent me an email it's saying, calling me a communist and saying I'm no better than the communists because I put his hand down. And he wrote this lengthy email. You're wasted my time. I don't want nothing more to do with this militia. I put money into this and you put my hand down when I wanted to speak. You're like the communists. You're no better than them. And I was freaking out like, what the hell is this, right? So I sent him an email. I said, hey, brother, I don't know what you're talking about, but I didn't do that. Even in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, is somebody on Zoom screwing with us or something? I would never do that to anybody. I didn't do it. So I kept my cool and I just told him, Brian, brother, I didn't do that. He got so extreme about it that it was mind blowing, but I kept my cool. I said, brother, I didn't do that. I didn't. And then it was with another meeting or two. Charles in Texas did the same thing to me. He says, hey, Mike, why did you put my meeting down? He was really aggressive about it too, almost like Brian. Like, Mike, why'd you put my hand down? I wanted to say something. You put my hand. I said, I didn't do that. I said, it's funny you say that because just the other day, Brian said the same thing to me and I wouldn't do that. And I told Charles, I said, Charles, maybe you hit there's a raise hand, but there's also a wave hand and there's also a thumbs up. Maybe you hit one of those thinking you were raising your hand. And he goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. He says, yeah, that's what I did. So he knew he was wrong and he admitted it. And he said, oh, that's probably what Brian did too. Of course, Brian denied that, but that was that. And then I guess a week later, Brian sent me an email, right? And actually, he sent an email to Dan and Charles and kind of deliberately sent it to me like as if it was an accident. Basically, since the National Militia, in other words, he sent me an email and I didn't respond immediately because I'm not always on my emails all day long, right? So sometimes I check it in the morning, sometimes I check at night, but apparently he sent an email to me that day and I didn't respond to his email promptly as like he wanted in his mind. So he sent out within 12 hours, he sent like an email to Dan and Charles. Since the National Militia Coordinator doesn't want to answer his emails, maybe you guys can help me with this. And when I read that, I was like, man, what's up with this guy? And I talked to him about that. I said, Brian, I don't, I'm not glued to my email. I don't look at emails every 5 minutes. I might not see them. I get so many emails from so many email addresses. I might have missed it. I usually get to it within a day or two. You don't have to, make such a big deal over it. And then the next issue, something else came up with Brian. I mentioned it earlier. I forgot. If you guys remember, you could tell me, Dave. That there was another issue with Brian where I don't remember now, but the bottom line was Brian ended up, constantly like having an issue. And I kept trying to be cool with him. I was like, relax, man. I was trying to be good with him. And then finally he sent me an email saying, I don't want nothing to do with this militia anymore. You owe me $300. I spent for business cards and everything. And I'm like, I wrote him back and said, Brian, I don't tell you how to spend your money. I don't know you nothing. That was on you. It was just nutty. The whole thing was nutty. And I told him, I said, Brian, you're childish. You're bipolar. You definitely have issues. And yeah, you don't need to be coming back to the meetings at this point. I concur. Have a nice life, basically. So that was that. One of the kind of things I've had to deal with. Now, here we are. Last Wednesday, we had a 6-hour meeting, right? And it went, I thought, fine. Somewhere near the 5-hour mark or whatever, Eric came on. And first of all, let me state for the record that Charles, on a couple of occasions, just because of something that Joseph might say, on a couple of occasions, Charles would just blurt out, "You asshole," like that, right? Which is totally out of place. And there was once where Charles called me and he says, Mike, I want to apologize. I was a little out of hand that night. I'm supposed to be a Christian. I shouldn't be acting like that. I was out of control. He admitted it and he said, forgive me. I said, no, it's fine. Whatever, he gets a little edgy, no problem. Well, now here we are, Friday night. I come on to Zoom, waiting to see if anybody comes on. And Charles came on. And it was interesting because actually I was on my computer and I looked and it was 6:12. I was like, oh man, I forgot to go on Zoom. So I went on Zoom at 6:12 and within a minute, Charles was on. I said, wow, ironic, I almost didn't make it. And Charles was real happy. He's like, man, Mike, this is great. I'm glad it's just me and you because now we got a chance to talk. Because again, for the record, I believe Charles has said it in videos and he's also said it to me. Mike, you're like the only one here that really seems to see the big picture and you're really working hard to try to pull it all together. And so he's complimenting me too. So what is it with these people that compliment? You end up being the ones that wig out. But here we were having our meeting. We were talking for 45 minutes or so about some issues. And then somehow or another, we said, let's get Eric on because Eric was down here last week in Florida. And Charles was really kind of getting a little wiggy because he said, Mike, why don't you just stop recording? And then maybe Eric can speak more openly about what was going on with him when he was at, Eric said Mar-a-Lago. But again, when somebody says Mar-a-Lago, that means Trump. And I don't believe that Eric met with Trump. He said who he met with, and I don't believe he met with Trump, but he met with some people. He said Mar-a-Lago. Why? He says that I don't know. When he comes on, we'll ask him why. But Eric was talking about, his issues. So I stopped recording and that was fine. So we ended the meeting. Basically, we all agreed, hey, let's have an inner circle, right? And Charles is like, a good inner circle here would be Dan. We definitely have to have Dan on here and you, Eric, and maybe Catherine. And, and I jokingly said, and we got to have Joseph on because he's always fighting with Joseph. So I kind of joked. He says, no, we don't need Joseph in the inner circle. I said, well, frankly, I think Joseph would be good in the inner circle. But So we kind of all agreed, okay, Dan, me, Charles, Eric, maybe Catherine. Oh, and we said Susan, right? So there's some good minds that would be our inner circle, right? We're just going to have like private meetings and we're going to discuss issues very succinctly. So I said, well, why don't we, first I told Eric, I said, Eric, you should try to get in touch with Darleaf, because again, Eric was talking about the sheriffs and everything he's doing in the counties. So I said, really, Eric, you should try to have more dialogue, more conversation with Sheriff Darleaf, he said, yeah. I said, well, here's his cell phone. I gave him the cell phone. And then, Charles was trying to say, well, Eric, why don't you contact Darleaf? And I said, well, I'll send him a text now and ask him if he can come on Sunday. And Charles was being wiggy again, like, well, why don't we just let Eric do it? Eric, what do you think, Eric? And I'm like, whatever, guys, I don't care. Let it be Eric, I mean, I've talked to him on the phone a couple of times. I've got his cell phone. I could just send him a text, see if he wants to come on. So I said, whatever. And then Eric concurred. He says, yeah, Mike, let Mike do it. So that was kind of it. Now, Charles said in Friday night's meeting that he was in the midst of watching the 6-hour meeting we did last Wednesday, right? I got to read it, man. So Wednesday morning, I wake up blown away. The same guy that blurts out and calls Joseph an asshole, the same guy that's telling me that I really seem to be the guy that's got it all going on, just because of him being muted at some point. And I'll have to go back and look at the video, but just for the record, my recollection would be that Eric and I were well, let me read the email for the record, because it's just mind-blowing. This is the kind of thing I have to deal with, right? As the guy that was trying to be the national militia coordinator, right? I woke up Saturday morning, opened my emails, and I see Eric, in light of our private conversation yesterday with Michael Singer, VS, which seemed to all three of us to be very pleasant, friendly, and productive, I have just now discovered that during our last Wednesday conference in Michael's Militia Forum, Michael was muting me. And this all when I then thought that my words were clearly being heard by all then present. I was only acting in friendly manners with Michael today because I was under the delusion that Michael was not purposefully and secretively subverting my common law and natural right to be heard in equal standing with the other good members in our community. I would not have been engaging in such pleasant conversation with Michael in our conversation with him yesterday, if I had known that most of my potent words in our Wednesday conference had been muted by Michael. On multiple occasions then, I attempted to rise to your defense, Eric, and then yelled loudly in your defense. And I was mystified as to why my words seemed to be having no effect on our discussion. I'll insert here. It's very likely that this Charles, when Joseph was expressing his back and forth with Eric, and Joseph had some questions, and Joseph's a hardball. I always call him my hardball because he asks the hard questions. I love it. And he's got more of a, by his own admission, sometimes he can be sarcastic or condescending, he admits that. He grew up right in the wrong side of town in Connecticut, right, Joe? He can share. But I love Joseph. I love the way he is. Obviously, Eric and Joseph, really because of Charles, have gotten into arguments. Of course, Joseph's going to defend himself, right? He's going to stand up. I mean, if they were in the same room together, Joseph would win, but Charles had this tendency, you asshole, which is totally inappropriate, not a place in our Zoom meeting to begin with. So it's very possible, I'll go back and review it, but it's a very good possibility, for the record, that if I muted Charles, it was because he was trying to fight and argue with Joseph again, when Joseph was trying to communicate his points with Eric. So it was probably Eric and me talking and Joseph, and then Charles trying to come in and be argumentative. So yeah, if I muted him, it was for that reason. And I have every right to do that, especially in light of the fact that he calls Joseph an asshole all the time. So he says, I was mystified as to why my words seem to be having no effect on our discussion. As the recording clearly shows, and as now seems obvious to me that you and everyone else in the conference could not hear any of my most potent words. In the earlier parts of this recording, my audio connection was functioning fine. Clear through our pleasant conversation today, and including through Michael's follow-up call to us both, Michael has not informed me that, oh, by the way, when you were ranting in defense of Eric, I muted you. Oh, like I have to tell him that. Perhaps I am being delusional. Yeah, you are, Charles. Perhaps I am being delusional. I seek your wise counsel on this matter. And I seek the counsel of all others copied in this email. He copied this email to like everybody that's ever been to our Zoom meetings. I was blown away. I couldn't believe that it's not like Charles called me, you know, like, hey, Mike, did you meet me last night? I mean, why? I mean, I know I was arguing, and I know I've called Joseph an asshole on occasion. Is that why you did it? Instead of just calling me and talking to me, he CCs this email to everybody. They're mind-blowing to me, right? Perhaps I am being delusional. I seek your wise counsel on the matter, and I seek the counsel of all others copied in this email, including especially that of Pastor Dan. Please check these sections of this video. Please adjudicate whether or not it appears to each of you that I am being muted at precise moment I am attempting to advocate arguments which I sincerely believe to defend Eric's position and thereby to reflect God's holy sense of justice. I believe that herein I clearly am being so muted. And I believe further that Michael and the only person in position of control in this conference who would be reasonably motivated and capable of accomplishing this. The confidence wherein this event occurs at Mike's Wednesday conference, 2022, December 14th, is recorded in a video which is available on a number of channels, including the following: Righteous Army, God, Religion, Theology, Militia, Sovereignty, the Republic, 6 hours on YouTube, on BitChute, on Brighteon, and he lists all the channels. The video is long, but for those inclined to at least glean the fuller context, I would suggest to skip past most of the first third with a number of good sections right after Eric entered. And last is the most intense, and that is where I believe presently that Michael began muting me. A good starting point is at the time mark of 5:05:30 to 6:01:58. At that point, Joe and Mike seemed to me to be unjustifiably picking a fight with Eric. As this discussion gains in intensity, I tried to voice my support for Eric's position. Near the 5:13 mark, Joe and Mike seemed to me again to be unjustifiably picking a fight with Eric. At the 5:14:20 mark, Michael again unjustifiably picks a fight with Eric. Michael here admits he is engaging in slapstick. Eric correctly identifies Michael's behavior as condescending. Michael seems to admit to the truth of Eric's accusation here. Eric continues on to explain beautifully the nature of the progress in Tennessee, which he is making in organizing common law complaint and responsibly self-governing courts. 5:19:15 mark, Eric finishes up a beautiful presentation, and Mike again picks another fight with Eric. Intro, and here Mike boldly admits, I'm the devil's advocate, in quotes. Mike boldly admits, I'm the devil's advocate. Mike's next attempts to justify his unchristian behavior by saying, here comes my suspicious mind again, Eric. This is just mind-blowing. It's funny to me in a way, but I'm just documenting this because it's so amazing. And these are the things I've had to deal with as a guy trying to put forth my efforts here. After that declaration, Mike continues on, essentially by implication, basically to accuse Eric of operating as a Judas goat and a subversive to lead misguided patriots into a trap to be murdered by rogue, lawless, de facto holders of offices in our agencies in the federal government. He clearly says such de facto feds would be saying, pow, 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 let's take these patriots out. Intro, this is clearly a malicious accusation from Michael Singer, VS, as against Eric. I would be interested to hear others' opinion on this point. Continuing on, I make an appearance at the time mark of 5/20/18. As the video shows, at the 5/21/30 mark, I clearly began attempting to enter the discussion. At the 5/21/45 mark, I clearly began advocating in Eric's defense loudly, but mysteriously, my voice is not being heard in the recording. And I suggest I am being purposely muted by Michael. I continue on from there by making a specific spectacle of myself by trying desperately to gain some participatory influence in the discussion. All you had to do, Charles, was unmute yourself. I mean, everybody has at liberty to unmute themselves if they want. You all can adjudicate for yourselves the results of my concern voiced here. I believe Michael's actions in so muting me evidence his malicious intent, aka mens rea, which is the single most difficult element to prove in criminal accusations. I will be very interested to hear the opinions of each and all of you on this matter. I am including Michael in this email, as you all can see from the header. I do not really care if or how Michael might respond. I am seriously peeved at him about this. I now consider Michael to not be a member of the body of Christ. I now consider Michael to not be a qualified elector under common law jurisdiction. I am really disappointed about all of this. It pains me to type these words. I strive to remain a humble servant of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I seek the counsel of all of you in this matter. Charles Stewart in Coleman, Texas. Just mind-blowing. This is the kind of thing, this is not the reason I'm not doing meetings anymore. It's, you know, obviously in my 38, 39 militia meetings, some people came on, but I ranted my concerns about how, considering the efforts I put forth starting 6 months ago with the website, with videos, with blogs, with thousands of TikToks and Facebook and Gab and Minds.com and MeWe.com and YouTube channels, and so much effort for so little result, I was depressed about it. It was frustrating. And I was beside myself, didn't know what to do. So I just wanted to document that. I have put forth a valiant effort. The other day I asked for donations to try to help get me through. 1,500 people on my email list, plus I plastered it on YouTube, on Gab rather. 2 people responded. I pray to the Creator, God Almighty, that I hit that Powerball one day and get $100 million or $300 million, because I fantasize about contacting every single person who donated to me over the 2 years that I did. And by the way, this doesn't count for any donation. Well, no. Okay. Well, see, I shouldn't say this because I don't want this to be a basis for people donating henceforth. But I don't care anymore because I'm having to find something different to do with my life at this point, which is part of the conversation I'm going to have here. But I really fantasize about hitting a $300 or $400 million Powerball so that I can contact every single person who donated to me for those 2 years in 2020, 2021, and 2022 with the bigvirushoax.com and with righteousarmy.org. Only 2 people at righteousarmy.org in 6 months, but all the people that donated through my websites because they appreciate my efforts. I did notice a comment on Gab. Somebody responded to me putting out the message that I'm looking for support and donations, and somebody responded, I agree with this. This guy is awesome. He's done more than anybody on the internet, putting out the truth and calling out the evil. That's what somebody wrote. So yeah, I've put forth tremendous efforts. I am fearless. I became a political and social activist because of the New World Order global pandemic, scamdemic depopulation agenda. And I've spent a lot of time trying to get to the bottom of the Anna von Reiches and the David Straits and the Eric. You know, I've always applauded Charles for being brilliant, being a mastermind with common law. But this email, to me, he's a kook. I mean, that's just kooky to me. I mean, I don't need to bring Susan into it. Susan basically just responded saying, well, yeah, Mike, I did see at 5 you muted him. You know, why you did, I don't know. I mean, that's your call. And again, it's true. If I think, you know, this guy who called Joseph an asshole 2 times, who likes to fight with Joseph, it's a pretty good reason to mute him, you know, when Joseph's trying to converse with Eric, frankly. You know, maybe just for the record, I will go ahead and read at least maybe, you know, my responses, just for the record, I guess, since I brought up, well, I can't find all that. Well, the first email, I basically just said, you know, first email I said, wow, I never knew Charles was so intensely personal and critical and judgmental, you know, over such a trivial issue. I never knew he was that way. It was kind of mind-blowing to me. But basically, when Susan wrote back saying, yeah, apparently you did mute him for whatever reason, I just wrote back saying, this is a ridiculous, needless, and childish conversation that I really don't care to be a part of. And the fact that Charles copied this email to all these other people, which means I have to do the same, is crazy in my view. But one, the moderator of a Zoom call can mute anybody they want at any time for any reason they deem appropriate. And I certainly had good reason to. 2, I rarely, if ever, deliberately mute anyone. I have never and would never mute anyone just for the sake of muting them. Or deliberately so they could not be heard, paranoia city. 3, participants in Zoom meetings know or should know if they are muted and that they are always at liberty to unmute themselves on their own. 4, I have always expressed my views and opinions openly and candidly in my Zoom meetings and will always do so. If someone can't stand the heat, they should get out of the kitchen. The only question that comes to my mind now is, quote, is Charles some kind of an agent after all, a provocateur, as he accused Joseph of being, and was just waiting for the opportune time to create this kind of a divisive controversy? It sure seems so. Now, Susan wrote back, we shouldn't be accusing anybody. I didn't accuse him. I didn't say he is. I said, is he? I mean, it seems like it to me, right? But again, it's sad because, yes, I've been, you know, boasting of Charles for months now, brilliant mind in the common law area. But to me, that's wigging out. That's crazy. That's nuts. And it's not the reason I'm not doing Zoom meetings anymore. Because I'm not anymore, I wanted to point out these craziness that I had to deal with, like Brian Traub in New Mexico and Charles Stewart in Texas, just, you know, and I could actually even read other emails, particularly the ones from Brian that are just crazy, nutty to me. But I went through all of that being still me. I didn't call him names. I didn't accuse him of not being in Christ or being a criminal who deserves criminal, you know, suits being brought up against him because they muted somebody. That's mind-blowing to me. So the ultimate point here is I'm going through troubles in my life right now. Dan, if you can hear me, I know you got family, maybe they're at your house now, but bottom line, guys, is I want to say that I do think that Eric Dinges and what he's doing, this is what I told Tave earlier, actually. I'll say this for the record. Sometimes I feel like Anna von Reitz, David Straight, Eric Dinges, the Republic, Joseph Gibson, all of them are Jesuit, deep state, new world order, just trying to screw up patriot movements, man. That's what it seems like sometimes. I know that the enemy has control from top down, so they definitely try to have control, and they definitely try to stir up the pot on the bottom. I've concurred with Eric that, you know, one of the concerns I had, you know, with the Republic was how they seem to, you know, oppress or put down these bottom up, you know, efforts. Like, you're going to end up in a federal prison. Yeah, go do your common law court, buddy. You're going to end up in a federal pen. you know, that kind of stuff. It's just, there's so much craziness in all this. I put forth my best effort, everybody, America. I did my best. I did my best with the bigvirushoax.com. I did my best with righteousarmy.org. And now I'm sitting here broke. Before this bullshit, I was a guy out there playing Stairway to Heaven, Dust in the Wind, some Eagles, Take It Easy, some Beatles, some blues, funk, rock, soul, you know, just singing and playing music, you know, at marinas and clubs and bars and having a good old time and driving a little Uber, right? Lost all my gigs, got fired from Uber for not wearing a face diaper. And for 2 years, I've been a political and social activist. I've done my best. I appreciate those who had supported. I wanted to go back. I got off my point about, I fantasize about being a mega millionaire winner, like Powerball, 100 million or 400 million, because I fantasize about contacting every person who did support me, every one of them that actually donated on a monthly basis at $1 or $5, even those, even though I had one woman in Tennessee over 2 years has donated about $5,000 to help support my efforts. A $2,000 check once, a $1,000 check twice. So I appreciate that. And I'm grateful. And yes, I have a fantasy. I could tell everybody that ever did support my efforts, if I ever hit the big ball, I will contact each one of you and give all of you $100,000 just because you took the time to support me. I don't have to do that. I wouldn't have to do that, but I would, because that would be my way of saying, wow, all those people that believed in me, that did put, you know, forth $5 a month or 10 a month or 100 or $1. I'd contact every one of them. I wish I could do that. I would send every one of them $100,000 just to help them out in their life. Just so y'all know, I would do that if I could. I appreciate everybody that has supported me throughout. Right now, I'm at my end. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, honestly. I know that I have no money. I have no interest in working in any system in this world. I don't want to work in a restaurant because I don't want to be guilty of serving people slime and sludge and alcohol and pork and shit food. I don't want to work in a grocery store that sells all those same things. I don't want to, you know, it's not about not wanting to work, right? I was a carpenter. I was an ocean lifeguard and an emergency medical technician for 5 years. My bio's on the website. Anybody that clicks on Michael at the top can see what my past is. I'm not a guy that doesn't want to work. I'll work. It's just that I became a political and social activist. And I can't help but constantly want to gather the truth and throw it out there for the benefit of the American people and for people who are waking up. There's no support in it. The very little support I've gotten over 2 years, but I did get some. I'd love to give $100,000 to all. And it'll be great when my next video is me saying, praise God Almighty, I won the Powerball. I would like everybody who ever sent me $1, anybody who supported me, please contact me. My number is 305-910-6206. Call me and let's work something out so I can get $100,000 to you. That's what I would do. I would love to do that. We'll see if that blessing happens. As Dan knows, if that were to ever happen, we'd be getting, you know, thousands of acres in Central Florida and creating a community of patriots, Christians, truthers. It would have a boat, it would have a fence, it would have its own self-sustaining, you know, solar technologies and other types of technologies and farming and greenhouses. That's what I'd be doing. But so just for the record, no more, Mike will not be coming on Zoom at 6 p.m. any longer on Sundays, Wednesdays, or Fridays. I'll be taking that off the bigvirushoax.com and off righteousarmy.org, basically just saying, be sure to get on our mailing list. I have links to get on my mailing list. Anybody that's on my mailing list, if there's ever a need for me to have a meeting on any specific issue or anything of importance, I'll just send an email out telling everybody that I'm doing a Zoom meeting. So that's that. Looks like Eric didn't get to join in. I guess Dan, while Dan's here, who had to go? Okay, Joseph had to go. Joseph's working, by the way. He said he'd come in later, but he's working. That's why he couldn't be here. I was going to ask him to say a few words, you know, in defense, not really in defense, but in conjunction with what I was saying, because he's been a victim. He was accused of being a provocateur by Eric and Charles. He laughed it off. I laugh off Charles's email too. It's just sad. That's the point of it. That's why I wanted to read it. It's mind-blowing, actually. But if anybody wants to say anything, this is it. This is Mike's farewell speech, and farewell only in the sense that I'm not doing Sunday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 anymore. I have to try to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I don't know what that's going to be. I need to generate some kind of income on my own, work, some kind of work. I don't know what kind of work. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I just go back to the park, start relearning all my songs and trying to get gigs again. I don't know. But I should be the sheriff of Miami-Dade County, but that's not happening either because I don't have the money. And I will end by saying that I do think that it's Eric Dinges seems to have the greatest plan, the greatest efforts being put forth to recover or restore the Republic seem to be by way of Eric Dinges, because he's essentially, so he tells us, is going around the country. In Tennessee, has talked to people in 26 counties where they are all talking about or agreeing to unincorporate, work towards unincorporating and becoming a constitutional government system. No sense in me repeating. I have so many things I could say now that would just be repeating things I've said over and over. But I think Eric Dinges seems to be on track. As far as David Strait, I still think David Strait's legit. I think he's genuine. Maybe David Strait is the ultimate person to go to in terms of an individual private. I'm going to do what I can to declare who I am and try to make all the notices to the official government of where I stand on things across the board. He seems to be the right guy. I concur with that to this day. And maybe Eric Dinges just happens to be the ultimate guy to go to with regards to counties, right? De jure, constitutional, take back your sovereignty in your county, where it's a community effort, everybody working to unincorporate and become a constitutional republic in their county, which is where it needs to ultimately start. So his at least what he portrays and conveys is accurate. Adios to Brian Traub, appreciated him. Adios to Charles Stewart, appreciated him. But those are the two extreme wig outs. There were others that weren't quite as wig out, but that's what happens when the more people you gather, the more you have to deal with that kind of craziness. So I would never quit what I'm doing because of any one person or any 10 people or any 100. I would never quit because of others or outside influences. I'm just taking a hiatus, so to speak, not quitting, because I got to find out what I'm going to do with my life. No income at all. I'm in trouble. And I'm going through a transition, or I'm not, but I need to be. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. So I put forth my best, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Eric, I'll just let him hear this video, but no sense in rambling on anymore. Anybody want to say anything?
Well, it's been a fun ride, and maybe if you win that lottery, we'll be back.
Yeah. Make sure you make a donation, Nick. That way you'll be getting your $100,000 if I win. But yeah, again, I'll be back if something significant comes about that really catches me, and I think there's something that the people need to really know about. It's important. I'll still be sending my emails out, I guess. I'll probably even get away from that to some extent because I'll be focusing on other things. But yeah, I could certainly rally, I guess, based on my email list.
I mean, you have my contact along with other people's contacts.
You have my email and my phone.
The website's down or what?
The websites are up.
I mean, I'm fine. I refer people to them.
Yeah, they're up, and I'll keep them up.
If you want my contact info, go to righteousarmy.org or whatever.
Right. So long as I can keep those up, I'll keep them up forever if I can. They should be up forever. But I appreciate you, Nick. Nick is the one guy that's always there in the background from the beginning, just listens in. He knows that the ultimate issue is the synagogue of Satan, those who run the Fed, run the media, run the banks, manipulate societies through all their lies and perversion and bullshit. And they need to be taken out one way or another. And that the militia is we the people, and that if we had a strong militia organized by states and the state governors were all righteous and said, yeah, we need to take these criminals out, then the state governors could order their militias to go in and do what needed to be done. But go ahead. What, Nick?
I was just going to say, I'm reading a book that I got from Dave Gahary, who his show with David Duke will be on at 7:00 or in about 25 minutes.
Okay, all right, great.
But he sent me, he's got several publishing houses and sent me a fairly new book from Kenneth Thomas Carter. It's 2 volumes and it's called A Nation Upside Down, From Sovereignty to Serfdom, Enslavement of the People. And I've read the first 2 chapters. I'm in chapter 3, where he's talking about Lincoln and the war to enslave the states. And I found it very interesting. I mean, I knew, I've known for some time that the whole Civil War was not over slavery, but I didn't know some of the stuff that he's put out there as far as information. For example, there were 4 governors in the northern states who refused to send troops. And he and Lincoln sort of forced the issue. I mean, I don't know who was paying, Lincoln, obviously we're told, but in the history books that Honest Abe was the greatest, thing since sliced bread. But, I mean, this tyrant did something to force these governors to send troops. I mean, it's very enlightening information. Lincoln was only elected by like 30% because the other ticket was split 3 ways between Stephen Douglas and 2 other guys. I mean, it's pretty eye-opening stuff.
Cool. What's the name of the book?
A Nation Upside Down.
Huh.
And the author is Kenneth Thomas Carter.
All right.
And I'm going to bring it up on Dave's show tonight with David Duke too.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, it's I highly recommend it. And,
Yeah, I'm just forgive me. I put my picture because my wife made me some hard-boiled eggs for dinner. I got to eat something.
I had pizza and other sundries.
Cool. You know about the book. I'm sure you know the book, The Synagogue of Satan from Andrew Carrington Hitchcock,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I've read it. Yeah.
Did you read it?
Oh yeah.
I've never read it, but
It's excellent.
after I watched Europa: The Last Battle and put it on Facebook, one of my Facebook friends, I don't know him personally, but somebody on Facebook said, if you liked Europa: The Last Battle, you will love the book, The Synagogue of Satan by Andrew Carrington Hitchcock, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's excellent. I probably read it about 10 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
He's on Jew Book too. Now,
And that's all.
Do you have any presence on Jew Book? Because I thought I saw you.
I had a
mentioned-
Facebook account for 15 years that the communist bastards took down.
Right.
Just like
But
I had a
if you
YouTube
don't have
channel
a-
for
you don't have a
15
group
years
page or
that the
something?
communist bastards took down. My Facebook and my YouTube. I did recreate a Facebook. It's Van Howie, Howie. Think of Howie, like, short for Howard or something, Howie. Van Howie. That's there's a picture of my son's hound dog on there. He's like a beagle, a beagle foxhound, and a picture of the Everglades in there.
Did you say it was Howie? Howard
Yeah.
Van?
Yeah.
Van
Well,
Howie.
Eric just made it, man.
1 word or 2 words?
2 words, Van, Howie, Howie.
Okay.
Hey, Eric, how's it going, brother?
I see it now.
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Good, man. I gave out my speech, so I hope you'll listen to this video later. I'll send it to you. I kind of covered everything about why I won't be coming back on unless, something comes up and I send an email. But you were my highlight. I saved the best for last. I did mention at the end that you are the guy, that really ultimately has the best based on everything you say you're doing, to me, it absolutely makes the most sense that you're going county to county, trying to get counties to unincorporate and become constitutional republics and take back their county, on that grassroots level.
Right.
I still am of the position that I think that I have nothing bad to say about David Straight. I've always promoted him. I kind of see it as David Straight is like the ultimate guy to go to in terms of a personal, intimate, personal me. I'm gonna let them know. In every way, I'm gonna do this and this and this and all the paperwork and put it out there so it's written and it's notified of where I stand. I think his system, I believe he's accurate. I believe he's a man of God, just like I believe you're a man of God. I think that he's the guy, the go-to guy on a personal level. And although having said that, we've had discussions again where, your point about not repudiating one's citizenship makes sense to me. The idea of just, you can declare your citizenship, you can declare your status.
Yeah.
That was, I did bring this up earlier briefly, and maybe you can just clarify on that, the issue of status. When you say declare it and you can declare your status anytime, you seem to have given me the impression that that's strictly a verbal thing. Like a person declares their whatever status they want, whenever they want, via their word and nothing in writing. That's what the impression I've gotten from you. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, that's right, because ultimately, see, and let me just clarify before I go into my answer. Whatever your personal freedom journey is, that's your choice. It is your choice. But I want to just give everybody, just little things, something to gnaw on. And that is, before you start entering into contracts and putting your autograph on documents, I think you better really break the language down to what it really is before you put your autograph there and your seal. And that's just, I think that's in all things in life, but especially when we're doing paperwork and making declarations on the record, because words like person, human, there's so many of them. Anyway, without going into too.
Yeah, can you hold that thought? Because Tave has had his hand up for some time. Nick was talking for a bit. Dan was here. Dan just left. I did go over my whole farewell speech, so to speak, but again, with the emphasis that I'm just not coming back on, Sundays, Wednesdays, and 6 anymore. I can't. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. I addressed all that. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going. But to the extent that I have a mailing list, if there's ever an issue or something I want to share, I'll still be sending emails out again, unless that probably will get put, by the wayside to some degree, as I'm focusing on trying to see why I'm on this earth and what I need to be doing with my life. Right. Maybe it's just going and sitting at the park every day and trying to learn my songs again and get gigs again. I don't know. I just feel like, I don't have any motivation to do anything in this world because of everything that's happened. Having become this political and social activist, I don't want to work in a restaurant where they serve liquor and serve pork. You know what I mean? Right. I don't want to work in a grocery store where they sell liquor. And so I don't want nothing to do with the systems of this world. I despise them. I want nothing to do with them. Right. So there's nothing for me in this world, frankly. There isn't. And how can I go out and play and sing when I'm at a restaurant where people are getting drunk and drinking and eating, ham sandwiches? You know what I mean? It's hypocritical. I almost feel hypocritical to be out playing. And I couldn't even get in a Christian church and be Joe Christian guitar player because I perceive all those Christian groups as being mainstream 501c3 run by the Synagogue of Satan churches. That's all just a big, let's use emotion to suck in a bunch of people and control them all. So,
if I might just interject, Mike, two things. I just want to finish my previous thought real quick because it's important.
Yeah, and when you do, finish that previous thought, and then Tave, you've had your hand up, so I'm gonna let you go as soon as Eric finishes his previous thought.
So the reason that I say what I do about not having to make declarations on the record and organizing at the grassroots level, right? Because Article 4, Section 4 of our Constitution, with the United States, it says shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion and on application of the legislature or of the executive when the legislature cannot be convened. So right there, I mean, they owe us a republic form of government, right? And the corporation is committing domestic violence on the people all the time. They're battering and abusing
You're breaking up, Eric. You're breaking up, Eric. Try say it again.
So that's
Eric, can you hear me? You broke up bad for about.
authority.
You broke up bad for about a minute there.
Yeah, I can. Okay, so because of the Constitution, we have the right to have a constitutional republic, and they're failing. So we have the authority to do it for ourselves. You know, the Declaration of Independence states it. You know, the Confederation of States, they're failing in their duties. They've
Right.
turned into for-profit corporations. That was only my only point. But then I wanted to also add, you're being awful negative there, buddy, because what you do now is you take your time and you use it wisely, and you educate yourself, and you go start working in your community to start beginning your constitutionally sound republic form of government at the county level. You just go out there and start organizing with like-minded people and start figuring out the processes. That's when I come back to Florida in a week with people about in West Palm, I'll be there for probably a whole week. So that gives us some time to plan some get-togethers, hopefully. And you can get plugged in with other people in your state.
Yeah, and you know, I guess not that I want to be in defense of myself, but I'll just say it's not negative. It's just being realistic because of my particular situation. You know, I don't have a car because my wife needs to use it to go to work every day. I don't have money. I'm broke. You know, I live out in the boondocks, you know, 40 miles away from civilization. I'm a sitting duck, you know, so it's not negative. It's just, it's realistic. Go ahead, Tave.
Well, with everything you said, Mike, and everything that I've watched you go through and were a light to me. There's a time in life where if somebody isn't humbled, and I've been there where I've had everything there was and I've lost everything. And to understand how you feel, especially at this time of year, like I discussed with you at the beginning of this call, you know, this is a horrible time of year where everybody feels like they have to do something for somebody else, spend their money they don't have, or just that whole Christmas spiel we understand is just to me is a farce. But to go back to where when I started looking for a path to hopefully find a group of people or anybody that had the same mindset as me as far as being patriotic and what it would do, what would need to be done lawfully, of course, legally. But even if it came down to giving my life, this is what this is all about. People don't understand that this is not this is not something that's just going to be put down on paper and pushed away, because it wasn't done that way in 1776. And it's a buildup to where hopefully it doesn't come to that. But ultimately, there has to be sacrifices made. And a lot of people have lost their lives in this line of love for this country, love for the things that they do. And all I can tell you is you've been a guide for me, even though I've had some emails or sent you some messages that you probably thought I was out of my mind. But as I look back, you take that time and look at what was said. You've done nothing but been a light for everybody on this channel, everybody that's in this community that we're speaking to right now. And your voice, without your voice and without your ambition to even get it this far, would not have met you, yourself, or these other gentlemen that we're speaking with and ladies. And I hope that you can find peace in yourself that you can find. And that's the main thing. You've got to find yourself before you can go any farther. To be happy, to do anything in life, you have to accept and be happy yourself, because you can't walk every day. You can't get up and function and do the things that you need to do if you're not content with yourself. And then you have to find God. And I told you earlier what happened with me in that. And I honestly believe that without you, Mike, we'd be in a lot worse position than we all of us are. The movement, I hope, continues to grow and do the thing that it's doing. And I hope to hear from you. If you need anything from my end, you know how to get a hold of me. I support you 100%. And if you hit the Powerball, I don't need your $100,000. I'd rather have you as a friend. And to me, you have been a friend and you've been a shoulder. And if anybody disrespects or dislikes anything about you, Mike, 9 out of 10 times is that you're right over the target, because they want the power or want to be in the power that you have, and you're gifted, and you need to just gather yourself up, pick up your shit, put it together, and get right back to what you're doing, whatever it is, Mike. If it's not doing this, that's fine. If it's doing your music, that's fine. But I believe in my heart that you're a good person, and I'd be happy to stand side by side with you and give my life for this country, for the things that we believe in. And I yield.
Thanks, Dave. If I ever had to give my life for my country, I'd want to be next to you as well. And I'm not just saying that. You're the kind of guy that I'd want to be right next to you, brother. And I appreciate that, brother.
Tell your son and dad and your wife, wish the best of you, and happy holidays, and focus on Mike. That's all that matters right now, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you made me realize something, Dave, and I appreciate it. Worst case scenario, the least case scenario would be, because like I said, it's not, like I'm quitting, so to speak. It's just that I'm going through a really, really difficult time right now in my life, primarily financially. And not just financially, but being completely beside myself, not knowing what to do. I absolutely am clueless. I have been alienated from the ways of this world. The ways of this world are so unappealing to me. And I can't function in it. It's so, while everybody else is enjoying this world and running to all of its frills and spills and everything it has to offer, to me, it's all repulsive, much of it, a great deal of it. The systems of this world, the corruption in the politics, the corruption in Hollywood, the social media trends that are people's minds just becoming mush and being stupefied and dumbed down by the media. It's alarming, it's sad, it's tragic. I do believe we're in the time of the sifting, the time, the biblical, shaking the wheats and the tares, the good fruit and the bad fruit. I believe that comes around every few thousand years, and we're at it again. I'm not quitting. I'm not a quitter to begin with. I'm at a, I addressed some of this, Eric, you weren't here. The issue with Charles is not, has anything to do with this decision I'm making right now. It's just a coincidence. But it was, ironically, I was pointing out the foolish, ridiculous kinds of things that I sometimes even have to deal with doing what I'm doing. Mind blowing to me, Eric. I don't know if you read his emails or what your thoughts are on it. It really doesn't matter to me, because I don't take it personal. I found it, I actually read the entire email earlier on this recording just to document it. To me, it's mind blowing. It's like loco. I've been boasting about Charles for months, that he's a brilliant mind. And we all have our personalities, and he's got his quirkiness, and I've never said anything about that, never judged him or anything. To the contrary, he's the one, that would, just blurt out to Joseph, you asshole, in the middle of a Zoom, which was totally inappropriate. So when I think about some of his issues and the accusations and assertions he made against me in that email, is mind blowing. Poof, it's like incredible. So Charles completely, it didn't even seem like it was him to me. That was just bizarre to me. I find it so, many people have said, and I know it, he admits that he's got an ego. So the fact that his ego was blown so much by being muted so that maybe he didn't call Joseph an asshole again while Joseph was contending with you or whatever, just to try to keep it between you and Eric, as the moderator who has every right to, moderate a Zoom however he deems fit, for him to say criminal charges need to be brought up against me. It's mind blowing. I mean, boof. I mean, it's just like, blows my mind. The guy is like a loon to me now. He's a loon. Yeah, he's brilliant in common law, but to me, he's truly just like a loon. I mean, just way out there. Something's wrong. Something's not right up there. So, I did end it saying, Eric, that you were my highlight on ending on a positive note with regards to the efforts, because I do concur. And I made the point, I think just before you came on, that sometimes I think Eric and David Straight and Anna von Reitz and Joseph and the Republican, all of them are Jesuit deep state, psyops to just completely screwing up patriots and prohibit any progress. But I can't say that about you, because you are the one guy said that at least what you're conveying and what you're saying is perfect. I agree with it perfectly. County grassroots Exodus 18 model. I mean, Charles is in sync with that too, but Charles totally lost my respect, my appreciation. He's like cut ties. I mean, that's nuts to me, that email that he wrote over him being muted. It's just mind blowing to me. But I am still of the position, Eric, that you are brilliant, but not necessarily a loon. You are, I believe, a genuine, sincere, godly man too. And that at least what you're conveying that you're doing is grassroots up counties, getting them organized. And one last thought, because I wouldn't mind you clarifying a little about this issue. You mentioned again, we have the right to take it back. Just before you came on, I also pointed out that, yeah, even the militia, all right, even the militia, it would ultimately be, as when we've discussed this before in meetings with you and Charles, posse comitatus. So things on a local level can be dealt with militia, posse comitatus. But to the extent that people are concerned about the national issue, which means taking criminals out of a federal government if they are traitors, that could only be done by way of multiple governors agreeing that needs to be done and having their militias work together to have that be done. It's not going to be done by any ragtag group.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There are ways to handle corrupt principles of the federal de facto government. There's ways to handle the state, but you have to go into their jurisdiction. You have to have somebody that's capable of taking up the law, like a counselor of law position, and acting as a diplomat on behalf of the people and doing it for the greater good of humanity. I mean, there's process that you can follow. There's actually due process of law that you can follow in their jurisdiction. It's known as an Article 3 court in the federal jurisdiction. So like each district in a state, like, I don't know what the districts are, but I know there's one in Miami. I know there's a federal district court in Miami.
You're breaking up.
That you can have them, so you can deal with them.
Yeah, you were breaking up really bad when you said, I know there's one in the District of Miami. And you were really breaking up at that point.
Yeah, so I know there's one in the district of, I know there's one in Miami.
Nobody's ever done it, right?
Well, it's just like these Bronson brothers. Of course not. Nobody's done it because it's just like the fact that nobody knows who they really are. Nobody understands the difference between a citizen of the United States of America and a citizen of the United States. Right. No different. There's a lot of things that people don't know that are vitally important to who they are as a man or a woman.
And for the record on this video, for anybody that may watch it, Eric's referencing the fact that in accordance with U.S. Code 28 USC, Section 3002, subsection 15A, the United States is a federal corporation. It's a corporation.
That's correct.
And there's a lot to be said about a natural man and woman based upon God's law, canonical law, common law, that is separate from a corporation. In other words, what is a corporation? A corporation is a corporation. They have no control over you. They have no right. That's like McDonald's can't come to my house and say, you're going to eat cheeseburgers. It's a corporation. Corporations have no authority over us, but they have manipulated over the last 100 years where that corporation is controlling people when they shouldn't be. And
Well, it's as simple as the fact that the 14th Amendment was never ratified lawfully. So
right, in 14th Amendment, meaning that
that's your U.S. citizenship. That's your debt slavery. It's not lawful in any way, shape, or form. It's a fraudulent contract perpetrated by foreign usurpers. They're criminals. They do need to be dealt with. And, you know, it would be nice if somebody in our body politic had the courage to do it, in our current body politic, or that the military had the courage to just do what they're supposed to do. But I question even that right now, because, you know, like we hear all the time, this, that, and the other, but nothing's changing. It's only getting worse, right? So
And
I think
that brings to my mind again that point of contention I had right with the Republic's phone call when the guy was reading the narrative about how the military said they'll give us our republic back if we make these concessions. Well, first of all, what are those concessions? But beyond that, we're not conceding to nothing. Nobody's telling me I have to concede to anything beyond what we know to be true. And but it brings to light, when you say military, it's like the military itself is the New World Order, one world government. It's Rome, it's the Vatican, it's the Jesuits. They own and control our own military, apparently.
well, it's the same as this right wing, left wing. It's the same bird, right? It's one bird. It's just one's the right wing and one's the left wing, and they're
Totally.
all trying to create the same objective, which is a one world government. Yeah, I mean,
Can you-
because the military industrial complex has been what's fed the beast in this country for, you know, generations now.
Right. Can you clarify for the record, you know, when you had mentioned in a couple other videos, you know, last week, you know, that you were going to Mar-a-Lago. We were talking earlier before you came on about the fact that, you know, when somebody says they're going to Mar-a-Lago, that means Trump, but you didn't go there to meet with Trump. So why would you?
And I need to clarify, because I was unaware. See, I don't pay attention to the world, right? I thought Mar-a-Lago was like a town. I didn't realize Mar-a-Lago was like somebody's private golf course.
Right.
So I'm rather embarrassed by that. So it wasn't actually Mar-a-Lago. I thought that's where we were going, but I learned when I was there that I was just, you know, a dumb hick, which is something that I never deny.
That's fine. No, I appreciate it. I wanted to clarify that, yeah, for the record.
But I was going to be meeting with 107, and he canceled the meeting.
You broke up. You were going to be meeting what?
I was going to be meeting with 107 and some others. And I did meet with a lot of other people, but 107 was not there.
Right.
But
and as you know, and I'll state it for the record here on this video, you know, this is one of the problems we have, is there's so many patriots out there that believe in what I know to be a Q psyop, deep state, pacify the patriots, keep them occupied, entertain them so that they don't do anything. Don't worry, the good hatters, white hats inside are going to take care of this, kicking the can of corruption down the road. More and more patriots are catching on to that reality. I've seen them over the last year jumping the Trump chain left and right because they've come to that understanding. So to me, I mentioned it to you the other day on the phone. I'm not going to say what your position is on it. You can say it now if you want, but yeah, 107. To me, in my opinion, in my view, he's just a guy that, you know, when all this shit started and all these people were jumping on the internet to try to make a name for themselves, he's just a guy that fabricated himself right in. He's a bullshitter. He created his own little channel. What a clever thing. I know, I'll just show my boots with my camera and I'll talk like I have all these inside people. And then gets all these suckers that believe in the Q psyop, frankly. So,
well, yeah. Okay, so Hollywood makes movies, right? And we all know Hollywood's like depraved, right? That's pretty simple fact. And all the Hollywood action movies, right? They've got good guys and bad guys, right? But it's still Hollywood. So we know the people that are playing those characters are not good guys and bad guys. They're just bad guys. They're corruptible human beings because we're all corruptible, right? It's no different in politics. It's no different in anything, really. So yeah, white hat, black hat. I mean, forget about it. Let's just be people and let's organize a constitutionally sound de jure republic form of government that we're owed, right?
Right. Which again, yeah, which, as you know, I've mentioned it in this video, I mentioned before, that was always, I mentioned earlier in my national militia meeting 38, 39, 40 was me ranting on about my concerns on where are they, right? Just frustration that considering the efforts I put forth over the last 6 months, thousands of posts on multiple Facebook and Gab and Twitter and Minds and MeWe and True Social, Freedom Social, all these different social media, 5, 6, video channels, YouTube channels, BitChute, Brighteon, YouTube, Rumble, on and on and on, TikTok, all, links to the website, all this effort for nothing, 40 or 50 guys like you and the 4 that are here,
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, there's been, I share in your agony. I've been doing this for, I'm in my 6th year now. Okay. 6 years of being on the road, brother, of traveling around and talking to people. And, you would think that I'd be a lot further down the road than I am, wouldn't you? I mean, after all that in time and all that investment, you'd think I'd be a lot further down the road, but here I am, right? Just now actually starting to get traction. These things take an immense amount of time because they're grassroots. And that's, that's just the way it is. It's not an easy path for sure.
Right. So yeah, I guess, the only thing I was wanting clarification from you on as well, I don't know if we addressed it or not, was again, just making clarity about the, like I said, I still have nothing bad to say about David Straight. I believe on a personal level, I think he's doing things in a way that's legit, that's kind of straight to it, big time. Let's really nail it on all these levels. A person's going to make their own individual sovereign declaration. Whereas you, for the record, Eric has differences with David Straight on verbiage, on words, because it's important what words we use. He has some differences on word issues, maybe on some approach issues as well. The big one, again, for me, which makes sense, is Eric says, you don't repudiate or change your status, you declare your status. On that one, I just, again, wanted a little bit of clarification to say that we can declare it. Well, I think you did say it earlier, that you are stating that as far as you're concerned, and you are a man with great insights on US codes and de facto legalese law, as well as common law, as well as law of war, that you're saying a person at any time, for any reason, can declare whichever status they want to declare for a given reason at a given time?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're your property. It's everything in this world is a creation of us, except for nature and us, right? Like
now, a clarification point, Eric, because again, you're always thinking in the box that you're in, which is common law, Constitution, God's law, what's actually law, not legalese. So are you agreeing with me, but only in context with that law, common law, exclusive of legalese? In other words, because that's a fine point that should be just made clear. Are you agreeing with me only in context with saying, absolutely, when you said it's your property? 14th Amendment citizenship isn't your property. You're saying your national state, because you were born on that land in that state, that's your property. Because you were born in this nation of the United States of America, the Republic, that's your property. But you're not.
So 14th Amendment, 14th Amendment citizenship is benefit and privilege. Okay. It's fraudulent. Its creation is fraudulent, but it's created in your good name, is it not?
Right, gotcha. So that's where that whole thing of, again, the straw man issue comes in, because they're claiming that authority, but over a straw man birth certificate, all caps. Oh yeah, see, we got you, we own you.
Exactly.
And
So
that's why the person has to, again, declare. And should that declaration be in writing at any time?
you can put it on the record if you so choose. You don't have to.
Right.
I mean,
what,
there's no
what would you,
requirement in law that you put your declaration
right,
or your declarations that, well, what are you declaring? You're just
Right.
learning how to use your statuses is really all you're trying to do.
right,
But some people feel the need to make a declaration. They want to, you know, put their opinions on the record. Some people want to be heard, and I can appreciate that. I'm just of the philosophy that you just do things. You don't talk about it. You don't advertise it. You just take care of business. And it's just my
Right.
personal philosophy.
Yeah.
Again, but if you're going to do paperwork, you need to research the paperwork you're doing, and you need to make it your own. You need to understand every single word that's going in that contract, because one of the problems that we have is the application of the color of law. When you're in the 14th Amendment citizenship status and you are in their jurisdiction, you are chattel and you have benefits and privileges. Benefits and privileges can be revoked at any point in time. And so when you're there, you're vulnerable, right? And so you need to know how to manage that. It's very important. But making a declaration doesn't change that.
right,
It's not going to change it in the courts. So you really need to understand that verbiage. So color of law, right? 14th Amendment citizenship, it's a fictitious thing, and it represents a color of law, right? When they try to apply it, because it's fraudulent. Well, what is hue man? The color of man, right? Hue and man. So if you put hue man in your document, you're using legalese in your document that you're trying to make a common law declaration about. I mean, all of these little subtle nuances, if we don't catch them and we put something on the record, then it can actually be used as testimony against yourself. And that's something that needs to be taken into account when you put things on the public record. And I don't think that that's discussed nearly enough.
right.
So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I do favor your take on that over, and it's not to say that if David Straight was in this conversation, he might agree with you. He might have another way of saying, well, no, we're not changing anything. We're just making a written declaration of this is what we declare, we are this man.
yeah.
Whereas you just don't believe it has to be in writing if you know your
Well,
stuff. If you're able
yeah,
to.
but the repudiation, like repudiate, what are you repudiating? That you belong in the United States of America?
Right. I get your point. There could be confusion there for people, and it does need to be made clear, that goes back to their point. I think that Eric wanted to meet with David Straight at one point. Eric got, for the record here, something kind of got fouled up where Eric thought that David thinks he's an FBI agent, or David did think he's an FBI agent, or David told Anna and Anna thought he was, or there was something about this bad accusation or assertion on Eric that's not true, that was a conflict between Eric and David, to the point that maybe David indicated he's more than happy to meet with Eric. Again, if I hit that Powerball, I'll be picking Eric up and we'll be going to David's office to sit down and look at all he's got to show us and record it all, just for the record, but
you use that money for yourself. I've got bigger fish to fry than David. I've got more important
but for the benefit of the people, brother, everything I do is to try to make things clear, knowing that there's millions of people out there.
How about y'all come to my office then?
We'll do that too. Absolutely.
I spent a lot of time on the road already.
Yeah.
And I've already gone to his office, mind you. So
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
yeah.
already extended my hand more than one time. So
Yeah, I know.
anyway, I'm not going to get into all that, because then I'm just going to get worked up, and nobody
Right.
needs
I
to
know.
hear
I know.
or-
The bottom line is, I just was again stating it for the record on this video that, I see both men as being sincere and genuine godly men, and they have a little difference of opinions on some things, and they have some ideas about each other that might not be accurate. And ultimately, David's more of a personal on paper, boom, 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 let's make these declarations on all these different levels with all these different agencies to make it clear. Whereas Eric is, and I kind of favor Eric's view. If you know your stuff, you know the laws, you know your jurisdiction, you know who you are, your mouth and your authority declares it. But you got to know what you're doing, like Eric said. You got to be educated. You got to educate
Yeah,
yourself.
but not everybody has the time to study law and know all this stuff, and the
Right,
majority
right.
of people don't. You know,
Right, and that's why Eric
Not that
concurs.
complicated. It's not that complicated, really, Joseph. It's really not. It should actually be a fundamental that they teach you in grade school. You know, because it's once you can just understand how the philosophy of law works, it all flows together and makes perfect sense. And it's not hard to find. It's not hard to find how to prepare documents and follow procedure. I mean, it's not rocket science for sure. In fact, law is probably, in fact, as far as academia is concerned, I would say lawyers are kind of akin to football players. They just learn how to use the books. They don't really learn anything.
That's contrary to what you guys are saying, though. Don't make any mistakes or you can get in big trouble. You see, you know, so you got to know your stuff. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but it's not hard to know this stuff. It's not. It's really not. People just need to apply themselves. People are smarter than they give themselves credit for. That's just matrixy bullshit. And you gotta lift yourself up out of that despondency, Joe. Because, you know, anybody with a half an iota of sense can figure out law, because it's really not that complicated once you understand how it works. And there's plenty of places where you can go. Like, I don't teach law, obviously. I don't give legal advice, obviously, but I can tell you that to learn about it and to educate yourself on it is not a complex thing. And there's two things that I do recommend for people that want to learn, and that is how to win in court without a lawyer, and the Sovereign's Way. If you take those two courses, you learn and you have access to tools to be able to be a litigant in any type of litigation. You learn how to prepare the documents, you learn how to prepare evidence, submit evidence, you know, bring causes for, everything that you would need to know, you can learn from that website.
Those are courses. Those are courses online.
Yeah.
Say the names of them one more time.
How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer, and the Sovereign's Way.
Okay. Now, would that be two separate websites, or those are two courses on one website?
No, those are two independent. They just differing. Those are just websites and things that I found over the years that do a real good job of teaching people the basics.
Okay. So on those two, mention them one more time.
How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer.
Okay. So I'm thinking that's probably not a domain name. How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer.com, or is it?
I think it's How to Win. I don't know. I can't remember the website. I just remember it being called How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer. I'm sure if you searched it on DuckDuckGo, you could probably find it.
Okay. And the other?
And Sovereign's Way, I'm sure you could find it the same way, just a general DuckDuckGo search.
All right.
Yeah, but you're talking about stuff that people should know after the republic's restored. Because right now, there's no way that
you need to know now.
Oh,
That's what you should know now, because their courts are in control right now. How to defend yourself in court, like build a case. If you have all the resource material there in front of you, like if you go and do that course that I was talking about, How to Win in Court Without a Lawyer, they offer all the resource material there. You can even.
How do you tell that to a guy who's working 80 hours a week, or a person that's in school already studying to be an engineer or studying to be a doctor? How do you tell somebody now they got to know the law? I mean, you got lawyers that go to school for all the time, and they don't know half as much as the common law. Everyone claims they know. You know.
Let me interject, guys, because I'm both of you. This is what needs to be said on what both of you said. First of all, Joseph. And in concurrence with Eric, they do need to know it now, because the republic's never going to be restored unless we have enough people that do know it. Because if they don't know it, they're not even going to be moving for the republic to be restored. What's that?
Well, yeah, and you know, like if you want to be a slave to a system, then you go right ahead. Other
Right.
people want to figure out a way not to be a slave to the system, and more power to them.
Right.
Right.
Now, and
Same
the other
I don't
thing,
think the papers.
hold on, because I was going to say
If
the
you
other
wanna
part
be
of
a
it
14th
on
Amendment
Eric's side. I was going to say this before you did, Joseph, and so I'll elaborate on it. Eric, Joseph's point is legit. I concur with him. It's easy for you to say it's easy and everything because you're brilliant in it for 25 years and you did the work. But for the average person, not only because of the, I was going to, hold on. I was going to say that in this nation, we're always hearing, and it's true, about how people are being stupefied and dumbed down by the media. So not only are there many millions out there that ain't too smart, and they'll admit it. They know it. They're not book smart. They got maybe some common sense going on, but they're not educated. They're not on that level of education. Number one, and to compound that or to exacerbate that problematic reality, you can throw in everything Joseph said. People that are, single parent working 2 jobs, or they're busy with their life, full-time attorney, legal attorney or doctor. They're busy. They don't have the time, even if they're smart enough to do it. So if you combine all those things together, it's quite a stretch, Eric, for people to come to terms with this, because even the people that jump onto it, a great many of them are fiddling with it for years, trying to wrap their head around it.
Yeah. So you know what though, Michael? What I spent 25 years learning, you can go and you can do these 2 courses and get all the 25 years worth of knowledge that I have in these 2 courses.
All right, well, great.
Seriously.
No, that's awesome.
So it is a lot easier than what you guys are making it out to be.
Okay,
See,
so
this
now,
is
wait,
no,
hold
you
on.
let me speak for a minute.
I know, but you're
Can
making.
you not give me the floor for a minute?
Yeah, I do all the time. I hate when you guys do that to me all the
Because
time.
it's
I'll let
important
people
for me
speak.
to be able to finish my thought, is it not? Should I not be able to finish my thought?
Because the way my mind works, Eric, and I think you know this, is when a very good point is being made, even though you got more to say, I want to elaborate on that good point, and you can keep talking. I'm not cutting you off where you can't speak anymore. I'm just trying to say what you said is hugely significant, because I made the point in agreement with you on people knowing it now. I made the point with Joseph on how people just aren't there. And then you came back with, no, actually with these 2 courses, anybody can do it. So hallelujah, that's great. Joseph, maybe that point he made right there is significant and meaningful and will be helpful to you and me and everybody else that watches this by taking those 2 courses. That's significant. It needs to be highlighted. That's why I took the time here to interrupt you there, but please continue, Eric.
Well, so the whole thing is about, there's the beast system and there's not the beast system. And, it's easy to be in the beast system, right? Because all you have to do is go to work and earn paper and pay bills, right? But in the de jure republic, it takes a little bit of work. It takes effort. And that's why I always say that we're going to have the corporation around for a while, because there's always going to be those few that are incapable of managing their affairs in their estate because they put other things first. That's fine. Every American should have a choice. If they need to be a ward of the state, a slave, a debt slave, so be it. Right? So be it.
Okay, Nick. If you got to go, you can hang, or you got to go, but we'll be seeing you around, brother.
Oh, I'm actually going to walk and chew gum at the same time.
Okay.
So I don't think y'all are going to be much longer, are you?
No, Nick was just saying the David Duke show is on. He's going to be listening to that while he's got us in the background. But yeah, we'll be signing off here shortly. Go ahead, Eric. Finish your thoughts.
I'll just say this in closing. If I do go, Mike, I appreciate Landholt for governor. I posted this in the chat, Landholt for governor, and we, the people of president.org, appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you,
on
brother.
behalf of America and the militia of the several states.
Thanks, brother.
Godspeed to
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a blessed Christmas, Holy New Year, safe one, and hopefully we'll meet on the backside.
Right on. We will. God bless you, brother. Thanks, man.
So what happened with Charles tonight? You didn't address this issue tonight?
No, Charles didn't come on, and I don't know that I would have even admitted him. There's no need. He made that was so boom, that email.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if you were on when I read it earlier, Joe, but
Yeah,
just,
I read it myself, most of them already. So, it's just, it's bizarre. Yeah.
It's almost as senseless as those texts that were sent.
Yeah.
right, yeah, that all-nighter text bullshit.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Who
crazy
was
shit.
responsible for
concur
that?
that
You ever
one.
find out?
No, I was talking about those texts that you read that Joseph sent.
That I sent. I didn't-
Oh, yeah, remember I
sent
told
no
you,
text.
Joseph? Remember I told you yesterday on the phone that I read your text to Charles and
Oh, I
Eric?
didn't send them all night long, though. I only sent them right after
Right.
what I sent them that morning, didn't I?
No, he's saying in terms of the content or the context of it.
Oh, well, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's the
Right.
truth. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Little
Right.
men doing little things, right?
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
not a little man. It's that I'm going to verify the things you say. If you get offended by that, then shame on you. I'm going to call
Well,
that sheriff.
I
I'm going to
just think
find out.
I think it's embarrassing to behave in a child.
It's embarrassing to verify if someone's claiming to be something on here.
No, I think it's embarrassing when you make false accusations and verbal.
I'm not making false accusations. I'm saying I'm going to verify.
I guess you don't remember what you wrote in the text about mine. You wrote some sort of perverted nonsense. I can't even.
Well, that's because you made
was.
perverted comments that night. I'm a provocateur. I'm an FBI agent. So
Yeah,
I come back
you
with
were
stupid is,
acting like
stupid
a
does. So I do the same
provocateur.
thing.
You do act like a provocateur. In
And so
fact,
do you.
several of your behaviors are very provocative.
Well, so do
Just
you.
your combativeness in the first place is very provocative, is it
you.
not?
So do you. And your lack of
Let's think about the
transparency or wanting to
terminology that we're
verify who
using.
you are. It's also very, very strange and obscure. And I'm going to verify it. You should have said, "Oh, well, sure. Matter of fact, call the sheriff. What time? I'd like to be on that call." That's what I would have said. I would have no problem at all.
I don't even understand what you're saying, Joe. What
What's
did you
that?
say? Verify
That's 'cause
what?
you keep talking over me. That's why. I said, when I said I was going to call that sheriff, Spangler, you went off the hook and you started calling
No,
me.
I didn't. I said, please do. I didn't go off the
No,
hooks.
you
What
did not.
I went off
No,
the
you
hooks
didn't.
about was your negativity. I think your memory is poor. In fact, you might go back and listen to the call, and you'll find that I said, "Go ahead, please. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. If you want to go out and you want to call and verify things that I say, be my guest." Was actually what I said to you, Joe.
Really? Is that what you said? Is that all you said? Is that all you said?
No, then you started being combative, talking about how what I was talking about was foolishness and it was just going to get everybody in trouble. And you're just being so negative because over there in North Carolina, you guys have it so much worse than everybody else, evidently. And so, yeah, I got a little bit frustrated when you started acting like that. Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Because
so
when you start being a naysayer, hey, listen, you know what a provocateur is someone who can't keep their mouth shut when they don't have anything good to say. That's provocative.
Oh, I got lots of good things to say, but I said I want to verify some of the things.
You don't have constructive things to say, though. Sometimes the only thing you have to say is negativity.
That's negative. Wanting to verify.
But that's going to be a you're a provocateur sometimes.
Now, wait a second. That's negative. That's negative. Verifying if Eric is who he says he is.
No, Joseph, Eric's just talking about, and you've admitted it to me. You said, how you'll admit sometimes you get, a little bit condescending or.
Yeah, I did. You're absolutely correct. I already admitted.
Well, that's all I'm saying. That's all I was saying.
That's all he's saying.
You're the one that's offended by nothing.
I'm not offended by it.
I mean,
I was attacking back. That's all I was doing. That's how I attacked back. When you started calling me an FBI agent, I attacked back at you. That's what I did.
Right,
I didn't call you an FBI agent. I said you're an agent provocateur.
I believe you said I was very suspicious. That's what you said. I could be working, one of those.
Well, I may have said that. How many times have you guys been, "Oh, you're an FBI agent"? I mean,
I never said that one time about you.
Grow up, Joe.
I never said it one time about you, actually.
Yeah.
Everybody gets all bent out of shape over disagreeing. This is what's hilarious. I mean, this is like macho man behavior, right?
It all started because I said I wanted to verify. I wanted to verify. That's how it all started.
Making a comment.
Right. Yeah, it's just.
I'm not going to participate anymore because somebody made a foul comment.
Right. Well, it's only natural. People can take things personal. People can be offended. People are going to lash back out at the other.
But it's just silly. It's silly to keep going on and hashing it on over and over and over again. Right. It becomes stupid.
Well, I just simply asked about Charles, and then you made the dig about Joseph's text. That's all. Well, I didn't. Wait a second. Matter of fact, did I say anything about Eric until he said something about Joseph? No. So let's
Dude,
talk
you
truth here.
named me in your text, and I
Whoa,
was.
whoa, 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 whoa. Did
Yo,
I say
you were
anything to
off the
start
system,
anything tonight with
Joe.
you? Did I say anything to you tonight to start anything with you?
I
No,
wasn't starting anything with you. I think
you
I was
did.
making a joke. In fact, Michael thought it was pretty funny,
But
didn't you,
hang
Michael?
on, but
Yeah.
hang on a second here. Hang on a second. But the point being, did I attack you at all? I asked about Charles, and was he
Did
here
You
tonight?
want me to read the text? Can I read? I'm gonna read the text just for the fun of it.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So, because I laughed about it, and Charles and Eric, I told you that I read it to him on the phone the other
Yeah.
day. And everybody laughed about it. I said, it is funny. You sold me
I
out,
meant
Mike.
it to be actually.
Yeah, you sold me out, Mike, on that call. Eric is not what he claims he is. I am so sure of this. And Charles is a mental pervert living on a dummy check. You want to use your gift of speaking to entertain them. That is fine, but you will be facilitating a dead road that will not amount to anything of substance. I was going to give you the keys to sparking a real movement, but go ahead with those clowns and see how well it works.
Yeah.
And Eric, and say whatever he is. We don't need him here in North Carolina.
Yeah, because he said, remember he said he was gonna come to North Carolina?
And then the
Yeah,
second
lots of
one,
people have invited me over to North Carolina.
I'd like to know who.
and then he says, hey, Mike, it's very slick how
Yeah,
when I
different
said
forms.
I would call that sheriff Eric started on. Wait, hey, Mike, it's very slick how when I said I would call that sheriff, Eric started on how you need to start blocking and censoring the Zoom call, hinting to my behavior. Yep, I
That's
copped
true.
that scam artist, Infogard, fake patriot, right?
No, the reason I was
Eric,
making that comment, the
hold on,
reason I
hold on,
made
let
that
me-
comment was
Yeah,
because Charles was muted,
right.
and you
right.
kept Charles muted, and people kept telling you to unmute Charles.
Right. Apparently, people were saying that in the text, which I wasn't reading the text.
That's
I'm
right.
But
Yeah,
aside from that,
yeah.
Charles could unmute himself. Anybody can unmute
I know,
themselves.
right?
Well, when you mute somebody, Mike, on your end, they can't unmute themselves.
can.
Just FYI.
Right
That's
now,
funny because
I'm
it's
gonna mute
happened to
Joseph.
me.
Joseph,
Okay,
I'm
mute
muting you
me.
right now. Right now, Joseph's muted. So.
So can Joseph unmute himself? and talk?
unmuted. I'm
he's
unmuted.
unmuted right there.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I've had it happen to where I couldn't.
No,
unmute.
you
Try-
can
try
unmute.
doing
Interesting,
me.
you were
We
wrong.
tested this. I did this.
Try
I did
doing
this
me.
early on because people didn't know, and me and Dan did it a few times. Why I muted people, say unmute, and they did all the time.
Well, no,
Anybody can
do
unmute.
it with me because I think I've experienced that
All right, here
before
you
to
go.
where I
I'm-
couldn't unmute.
All right, you're muted, Eric. Now I'm just playing. Eric can hear me, but now watch. Eric's gonna wait like 5 minutes.
Okay, no, I can't.
See how
it
fast he
worked.
did?
It worked. So, but is there a feature on there where you can mute somebody and not let them unmute?
No,
Because I know
I thought there
I've-
was.
I'm pretty sure there was.
if
or
there is, I don't know anything about it.
On
And
behalf
again,
of Eric's side, I will speak the truth here. I thought there was.
Yeah, I did too. I was.
I
pretty
don't know.
sure.
I've
And
never
I
heard
thought
of it.
It
I
that
don't
doesn't
know
was
make,
anything
it
about
doesn't
it.
make sense. It doesn't make sense that the guy who's controlling the show can't block somebody
I
from
know, right?
talking.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense at all. How would you moderate a call effectively? You
Exactly.
couldn't block somebody. Yeah. So I question that, Mike. But anyway, it's neither here nor
Hold on.
there.
I want to finish this. I want to finish the funny text, man. Yeah, Eric. Yeah, Eric is like a
Uh-huh.
Bugs Bunny cartoon. But what concerns me is you fell for it also and attacked me. Well, Mike, good luck on the mission, and don't be surprised. Dinner arrangements are, don't be surprised. He's referring to your dinner in Palm Beach. He says, and don't be surprised if dinner arrangements are canceled by Eric tomorrow. Maybe he is soaking in the bathtub with Charles.
Holy dude.
Merry,
You
Merry
are so
Christmas.
depraved,
Merry
bro.
Christmas
You
and
are
Happy New
depraved.
Year time.
You talk about
move
other
on.
people.
I
being a
move on. The show
pervert.
must go on. God bless you. So,
my gosh.
yeah, it's sometimes everybody has different, sometimes there's a combination of anger and humor or wit or
I think to
frustration.
be a wise guy.
Yeah, and he's a wise guy.
I think my mental prowess intimidates people, but it's all right.
Yeah, no, we talked about that many times. It does. And it took me a while to get where and what ultimately won me over to Eric is, again, assuming that he's doing everything he's saying he's doing, and everything he says is spot on. Everything he says is spot on. And what he says he's doing is grassroots, Exodus 18 model, county to county, posse comitatus, sheriffs, constitutional, unincorporate, grassroots, get your power back in your county. I mean, that's
My point is this, Mike, we've already tried the ground up thing. Everyone always says grassroots, bottom up. Why don't we go from the top down? Because we already know we have a dumbed down country. We need leaders. We need
Let me
leaders
answer that.
Because of the way your sovereignty works with the system that's in place.
There is no
If you don't
system in place
understand,
anymore.
yes, there is. If you don't understand how the system was built and you don't go through it the way it's supposed to be, then you're unlawful. Look, dude, the only reason I'm a stickler for the lawful part, okay? Like I make sure, like I double check all the time, all my facts. And the reason why was because, like I've stated before, one of the reasons why people say I'm an FBI agent is because one time I had lunch with the FBI and they wanted to know what was going on and I wanted to know what was going on. So we met for lunch and talked about stuff, and they gave me very few warnings. Very few, but we had a really good conversation. I've had this conversation with other law enforcement officials, but not to the depths as I did with these guys, because this is what their job was to investigate the sovereign movements. Anyhow, and there's a little story behind why it happened, but it was what it was. And it was excellent because what they told me was to stay away from the UCC filings, which I already knew because that's a minefield. And unless you're an expert in UCC, you're probably going to end up getting yourself in trouble. They said stay away from all the 1099 and W-4 sandwich processes, which I already agreed with because I'd already seen how they'd failed time and time again. And then they told me to be careful of the gurus, especially people like Anna and a few others, which I've already mentioned quite a few times. And to be lawful. As long as everyone's lawful, we don't ever have any problems. And that's the whole thing. That's why the system has to be fixed from the grassroots level. It has to be done using a specific model. And the reason why is because constitutionally and biblically, sovereignty only works in one direction. And that's from the individual outward. And it takes a lot of individuals to lend their sovereignty to create something the size of a nation state.
And
Hallelujah.
when they
Amen.
doesn't
Hear,
happen
hear,
now,
hear you, hear
do
you.
this,
Right
they're
on.
gonna do
Spot
what
on.
they're gonna do.
Spot on. Spot on. Thank you.
And what
Go
do you
ahead.
think they're going to do to you or everyone else when you do what you do, when you say if it grows?
I don't even care. Nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody
So you
cares.
go down with a fight without a fight. You're a paper pusher. I mean,
Oh, you know what? You always extend the olive branch first, always. Otherwise, you're acting out of alignment with the Bible and you're acting out of alignment with the law, and you deserve what you get.
Well, doesn't the
Right.
Bible say give unto Caesar what is Caesar's? I mean, what do you? So why are we worried about it for
Yeah.
anyway?
Why
Then?
don't you finish that passage? Because it's a lot more than just give unto Caesar
Right.
what is Caesar's. People
Right.
misquote the Bible all the time.
That's true.
And that's just one of these places right here. So yeah, give unto Caesar's. If the government is ungodly, God wants you to rise against it. Israel is his nation.
Right on.
And because the
But wait a second.
bloodline.
How does the government become ungodly? Because the people have allowed it.
Wait, hold on. Because I know there's a lot of synagogue of Satan haters out there, justifiably so. So I want to clarify, when Eric just said Israel is his nation, he's not talking about that little nation of Israel over there, that nation state.
That's right.
He's talking
That's
about
what he's talking
Israel,
about.
God's people, the tribes.
I'm talking about the biblical God's people, the tribes of Israel, what was spoken about in the Old Testament.
Just needed to clarify that.
Yeah, the bloodline of Jacob.
Right
We can
on.
get real specific, but we don't need to. Yeah, evil. a beast system, when it becomes tyrannical to ends, then the people have the right and a duty to shut off those bands that have bound them to one another, right?
That's right.
So that's what you have to do, but you have to do so in accordance with the common law or God's law, one or the other. You can't just do it in their jurisdiction, right?
But you're not going, but what I'm trying to tell you is, look, it's been tried. It has been
No,
tried.
It hasn't been tried. Let me interject on
has.
that, Joe. It
No,
has
wait a
not.
minute. Joe's
Hold on,
right.
hold on. Because it's not about, again, it's not about anything being tried even. It's about, ultimately, the biggest problem we have here is that there's not enough people that know what Eric knows.
I agree.
It's about trying, okay?
Right.
We've been trying for a long time, and now we're starting to gain some real traction. And now is the time to really start being strategic in your thought process and organizing in your communities, because in some places, it's actually starting to take shape. It's a try, it's an effort. I tell people all the time, I stand on the shoulders of giants. Like, I'm not just out here because I'm out here. I'm out here because I have studied in depth all of this to the nth degree. That's why I know Charles's work is so valuable. I've worked with different professors. I have different works from different professors that, PhD studied, constitutional law experts. I mean, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. And
This
that's
conversation, by the way, that conversation, the Eric Dinges conversation is the conversation for the Republic. It's that simple. That's a fact. And let me say this, because Joe, we were talking about it earlier and you agreed with me. The Republic, not only the top-down thing is concerning, rightfully, not just because it's oppositional to everything Eric just said, Eric's right, but the top-down is not only lends itself to control by the powers that be, top-down.
Here, here.
Not only that, but Eric, Joseph, we talked about, what are they anyway? What do they mean? James Carpenter, he's a supposed governor of the free state of Colorado per the Republic, i.e., in other words, meaning that if the Republic was restored, he's the governor of Colorado.
Well,
The governor,
hang on.
hold on. In theory, I'm just making the point that in theory, he's a governor of a state. He has nothing to do with the federal government to begin with. So when they're talking about restoring the Republic as if there's some, federal government replacement, which is way they come across like they're replacing, the federal level government.
They're not replacing, they're taking the seats that were abandoned.
Right.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And if I could just have the floor for a moment.
Yeah.
So I've talked with a couple of those guys, and we had a good conversation. I appreciate some of what they've done. I do. I appreciate some of what everybody's done. And if the counties come together as a state, and they want to have that official there that's been elected in the Republic, like there in Colorado, if that's what they decide to do, that's their job to figure that out. It's not my job. It's not anybody's job other than their job. And so, but if we think that we're going to have an appointed president, I would strongly maybe argue that point, because that's just not, it's not until we can have lawful. Yeah, if we have we have to have lawful elections. And so as the counties populate, then they form and they elect the president.
Yes,
once we can have a convention of states and fix the issues that we're dealing with. But we got to get our states in order first, for sure. First thing is the counties. Second thing is the states. Third thing is the federal government, and we can actually take it back. And let me tell you, when I talk to people, I don't care if they're a Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. Most people that were, just trying to pick the side that they thought best represented them because they didn't know what else to do, they're fed up. now. They're fed up on both sides of the aisle, and they're willing to listen to just about anything. And so when you present a system of biblically sound, historically sound, lawfully sound path, they're going to jump right on it. They've been jumping on it like crazy, man. It's insane. I'm like freaking out. It gets me excited like nobody's business, because I've been working at this for a long time, and I've seen the little struggles. I've seen the uphill battles. I've been in the trenches on some of those. I've been in the background in others, and it's been tumultuous as hell. People have sacrificed a lot. People are sitting in jail, and have been for a lot of years over stuff that, you know, are financial crimes. And we were never meant to be wagered in our physical body for financial crimes. It's unconstitutional. It's against the law, but that's the way it is right now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the way it is right now. And then yes, that's correct.
Until
But
we get up and do something about it, right, Joe? Till we get
how
up off our
long we've
duff
been
and do
hearing
something
the
about it.
same thing. We get up, get up, get up. We don't have enough people. We were not going, we're in information war. We have lost.
Well,
There's no hope right now other than coming up with new solutions and ideas. And your solution has been tried. I've been telling you this, and you don't agree with me, but it has.
It may have been tried. It may have been tried, but it wasn't me that tried.
Okay, I'll concede that notion.
So, yeah, I'm going to do what the Lord called me to do,
Right.
and
We have
that's
to
all-
come
that's all I
together,
can do.
Eric, though. You can't be out on your own and doing
Hey,
everything.
did you hear me being divisive in any way? I just said that everybody has a place here. In fact, I talked to all assemblies of all kinds. In fact, I talked to all the groups.
Well, how are we going to put someone like Charles up there? How are you going to put someone in the middle? Guy's got wearing gloves and a hat. He's waving his hands around. You know, I mean, Charles is not going to be taken seriously with anybody. Okay. I don't know what Mike sees in him, that he's a brilliant mind and this and that. I haven't heard him say anything really that's of any type of intelligence. And he rambles on what other people say. I went to his website to check out his stuff. It's all copied and pasted from other sites and other law journals. So nothing is of its own writing. So I just don't. I'm just attacking Charles here because I'm sure he attacked me. But we have to have people that can represent themselves when we start talking and meeting with large groups of people.
I think what we need to start doing is stop bashing each other and get our asses in here and just get to work. I think the negativity doesn't have place in this.
I think you have to be negative because you're going to listen. Let me finish, because you're going to encounter that.
For the
Well,
benefit,
you can.
for the
I encounter
benefit
it all the time.
for the benefit of any viewers, I'm going to let this keep running. You guys keep talking back and forth so you can vent out these concepts and ideas for other people to consider. I got to walk my dog and I'll be back in a few.
Well, I'm going to have to get off in a few, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll keep going.
Yeah, I'm tempted to go over to the David Duke one, but I was there last week, and freaking, he talks forever, 25 minutes for one question.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen him. I don't pay attention to much of that stuff anyway, because it's just that's one of the biggest problems we have is we're just so used to being divisive against one another. It's like we've been MK Ultra'd to want to divide each other. Right.
Well, what do you mean by that now? You talking about the race thing?
I'm talking about everything: red, blue, black, white, brown, green. You pick color. And
well, we're a people of division, though. We're a people of division.
Well, right, but we're supposed to be able to unify under the law. That was the point of having a republic. That was the point of having a republic.
Yeah, correct.
We're a union of division brought to you by the Synagogue of Satan.
There you go. Here.
I'll agree to that. That's fine. And the thing of it is that the criticism is all I'm saying is that when I've seen so many people snatched up and thrown away in jail, and I've seen so many people taken down, murdered even throughout the years, is when I say verify somebody, it's for the protection of everybody. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing FBI raids. I'm sick and tired of people getting put in jail. I'm sick and tired of it.
Yeah, me too, man. I feel you on that. But the one thing we have to remember is that, the only reason that we got this country in the first place was because we fought like hell for it. And we're going to have to fight like hell for it more. And maybe at some point in time, it'll come down to something more than just a pen. I hope not. I hope it doesn't ever go there. And I think by standing up the counties, it doesn't have to. Once there's some examples that are fully established, I think it'll make all the difference in the world. And hopefully that'll be coming to fruition soon.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of counties working to try and get it done, but it's a lot of information to absorb, you know? I mean, and they're trying to like drink from a fire hydrant. it's
Well,
it's
I
intense.
mean, like I said, if the count, I just want to see results. I'm sick and tired of the back door type of thing where there's no results. Because if I walk into a courtroom tomorrow, they're not talking about none of this stuff we're talking about, you know?
Well, they are if you follow due process and you appeal the right way, because then you can take it into the district courts and you can go into an Article 3 court. And that's where they can hear the matters of controversy involving the Constitution.
Well, I filed a writ of mandamus here in North Carolina and they wouldn't even entertain it.
You filed a what?
Extraordinary writ of mandamus. Mandamus. Challenging
Okay.
one of their statutes that I fell victim of. And they wouldn't even hear
Okay,
it.
so yeah, of course not, because you got to challenge the jurisdiction. You have to challenge the subject matter jurisdiction, not the law. That's sound. Their laws, their statutes are sound in their jurisdiction. You're mixing jurisdictions. That was your problem there, just so you know.
Well, I don't know what I did there, but I think that I did cover that, but I don't know off the top of my head here. You give me a second, I could probably pull up my eyes, so not that long, but the thing of it is that like I said, I just don't think they're going to give us that time of day in their courts, you know.
Well, they do. Let's just like for that instance that you just stated, what you should have done was you should have gone to an Article 3 court and got a memorial for declaratory judgment on the question of the hang on the question of the application of the statute. But the statute itself is in their law, and it's lawful by their statute and code. It's codified. So therefore, the only thing you can do is get them to clarify and hopefully wager an argument that causes them to clarify it in your favor, which they will typically do, because in the courts, if you put your argument together properly, and you follow the due processes, then you can actually see most of this stuff through without much complication. Now, let me just say, okay, there are some places that are not easy. And again, North Carolina may be one of those places. I don't know. I mean, I've heard of a lot of horror stories from North Carolina, honestly. But in other states, these things do work. And so that's why I cite these types of things, because they can be very highly effective.
Well, what about bonking the court? In I had a guy that arrested the prosecutor in his court. He embarked the court. It was about 10 years ago, this video. I wish I could pull that video up right now.
He arrested him?
Yes.
How did he do that? Was he in their jurisdiction as an agent?
Well, if I can get the video up real quick, I might be able to share it. It's only 8 minutes long. But yeah, he arrested the prosecutor.
Why on earth did he do that?
I don't, hang on, I'll get it up, the video. I'm pretty sure I can find the video on my YouTube here. But yeah, that was that was huge. But hang on a second here. I'll see if
he got in a lot of trouble too, didn't he?
No, he didn't actually. Because he does follow-ups too. He showed follow-ups on that too. Hang on a sec. I could probably get it up. It's in my saved searches, so because I just had it up, matter of fact. I was looking at it. Hang on a second here. I'll tell you right now.
Well,
yeah, I could play the video or share it. Hang on. Oh man, watch. I bet I'll have a hard time getting it now because trying to find it. But oh, let's see here, man. Yeah,
you can always.
Yeah, but I just, it's like on top of my head. shoot. Figures Mike goes off on something, walking his dog now. Oh, man, where the heck is it, man?
Well, when you think about it, you can or find it, you can send it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like most of these things, and this is why I'm like, recommending those 2 classes that I recommend. Because once you start to learn the processes that you have to file, you become very dangerous in their courtrooms, and they don't want you in there. Again, North Carolina might be different, I don't know, but one thing is that we have to figure out how to stand up one way or another. And every place is going to have to figure that out for themselves, or they're going to have to choose to live in despondency, which if that's the case, then so be it. And it's just is what it is. I mean,
Yeah, but you see, you get whack jobs on here too. Like here's one right here. This guy right here. He was just a whack job. I don't even want to play that one, but it's he starts yelling in the courtroom. Oh man, what the heck? See, no one's gonna take this stuff seriously. But let me get that one while I look at this. This one right here. Wait till you see this one right here. Listen to this.
well,
one
the
right
courts do take you seriously when you're belligerent in the proper fashion and not just screaming at them. I mean, they,
here. Yeah, hang on. I'm gonna get this one up right now. Can you hear it?
yeah.
All right, hang on. All right, I'm gonna play it now.
Oh, that's Ernie.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, that's Ernie, the mountain man, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen his videos.
You seen that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've probably seen them, but I mean, some of them, I mean, that guy's actually spot on. He's spot on. But I think he ended up making a mistake somewhere. They tried to rope him in because he was making a target of himself.
Yeah.
And when you're a man alone and you do what he does, of course you're going to be made a target, buddy. Of course you are. But
Yeah.
when you're lots of men and you're doing what he does, then you're the body politic, and it's a whole new ballgame. Because who elects the officials in the first place? Right at the county level, who elects the county officials? The people. How many people typically participate in the county election? 1,500, right? You can surely find 1,500 disenfranchised people in your community. I mean, come on, that's a small number. And when you have 1,500, then you represent a body politic equal to what votes in their elections, do you not?
Well, that's yeah.
Yeah, so then you just take care of business, buddy. It's that simple. I mean, like the numbers are not huge at the county level. That's why the county level is the only way for it to be effective. Because so few people participate in the body politic, but the Democrats and the Republicans are both fed up and they're looking for solutions. And so when you bring them the right solution, then most times they're going to want to implement it. I've had really good success with speaking about these things. That's why I keep getting invited places. And then yesterday I got invited. Somebody wants to do a documentary about the work that I'm doing. So I'm hoping that'll help a little bit too in spreading the word. But yeah, I mean, we got to make it happen. I mean, we ain't got no other choice other than to, either bow down to our oppressors or go ahead and go to guns. I'm not ready to go to guns yet. I think the people can do this peacefully. I think there might be pockets where it's not like that, but I think for the most part, it'll be pretty peaceful.
Well, I mean, let's hope so. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's otherwise it has to go to the guns, I guess,
Well, what other choice would you have at that point? Because they're certainly not lawful.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, let me ask now, what happened with Mike's case with his son? With his son getting pulled over? I forgot. I've been meaning to bring that up about with it. Remember his son got arrested?
Oh, I don't know. I don't recall.
Oh, you don't remember that? His son got arrested and spent the night in jail. And that guy, Rick Martin, is supposed to be helping out his son.
Yeah, Mike,
yeah, right.
Mike has not updated us on what that situation is.
Yeah, Rick Martin is going to help him, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll believe that.
Here it is, the man that got arrested, ran arrest to a district attorney. Michael Alexander, I arrested the district attorney. Here it is right here. Why is my speaker so low? I'm on Zoom. All right, hang on. What the hell, man?
I got about 10 minutes
All
for
right,
I
I'm gonna speed this up. Here it is. Listen.
To the district attorney. I'll go through point by point and show you the important parts of what I did and then explain why I did it. I'd like to give you a little bit of background so you understand why it is they do what they do. When you go through family law, custody, and visitation proceedings, they intentionally deny you equal access to your children. They do this so then they can charge you the most in child support. One of the main factors in calculating child support is the amount of time you have with your child. So they have a vested interest here in taking your children from you so they can jack up your child support to the maximum amount. And they use a software program in California called a DissoMaster. And it actually calculates everybody's income, any deductions you have, any tax write-offs, et cetera, et cetera. In California, if my memory serves me correctly, they take like up to 49% of your income, which doesn't leave you as a single father the ability to live yourself or to even ever have another life, another child, another relationship. You're now a slave. And the other thing they do is they let these cases hang for a while. They let your child support build up, and then they come after you for what's called arrears. And then they charge interest on those arrears. So even if you would pay all your back child support, they would then hit you with another bill for the interest. I've seen this go on for 20 plus years, and it absolutely devastates parents, single fathers usually, and puts them into financial ruin. I'd also like to mention that any cases that go to the county district attorney via welfare system in California, it's Welfare and Institutions Code, Section 11375. They call it reimbursement. So what happens is the federal government sends those public assistance welfare dollars to each state. The state then, through the counties, disperses that money to the individual parents. So under the Welfare and Institutions Code and Title IV of the United States Code, the Social Security Act, the state's obligated to go after the absent parent to recover or get reimbursement for that child support or the public assistance monies that are paid out. Now, here's the kicker. Any of those reimbursement monies that are collected by the state keeps. They do not send the money back to the federal government. So the state has a vested interest on any of this money that they collect via the reimbursement process. They don't send it back to the federal government, they keep it. So it's in their best interest to separate you from your children so that they can make the most amount of money. It's a scam that's destroying the fabric of our society. There are so many children growing up without fathers in their lives that they turn to crime, they turn to gangs as they get older in life. They have no social structure or structure of what a father's supposed to be in their life. They have children themselves, and they have no sense of responsibility to that child. So now that generation of children is growing up without fathers. If you look back over time now, we're about 60 years into fatherless children. Look at what it's done to our society. Now, that's also good for the government because a lot of these kids turn into criminals. They're roaming the street in gangs with guns, committing crimes, and that also feeds into the government system. They want it this way. It keeps their district attorneys working. It keeps their social services departments open and running. It keeps the prisons filled. So it's all well calculated and by design. So now you have a basic understanding of how this process works. Mr. Volkowski is with the Family Support Division for the county, and he's one of the hitmen that does this work for the government. They pay him well. Now, I'd like to note that I caught Mr. Volkowski out in the hall before court proceedings, and I told him, look, I don't want to have to do what I'm about to do. You know, I told him, hey, look, you know, I'm going to have to hammer on you, and, you know, it's not really what I want to do. And he just kind of giggled, and he looked at me, and he's like, yeah, I can hold my own. Well, you be the judge of that. Did he hold his own? Let's watch some video, shall we?
Mr. Volkowski, did you want to take up Mr. Alexander's matter? Mr. Alexander, case number 375-134. Hang on just a second, Mr. Volkowski, Mr.
Excuse me, are you attempting to serve me something, sir? So when the video starts out, you see him walk over and he tries serving me some documents. Well, that's not appropriate service under the Code of Civil Procedure that governs service of documents.
Hang on just a second, Mr. Polkowski. Mr. Alexander has asked for video.
Now, here's something I really don't understand. The judge tells Mr. Polkowski to hold on. Mr. Alexander requested a videotape copy of the proceedings. So where's the lady that's running the videotape machine? So of course I object for the record, and then he starts to give an explanation. Well, I came across these, and I'm thinking, I don't care what you came across. I'm the moving party. I filed the moving papers to bring us to court. I get to speak first. That's how the rules are written. Your Honor, I would object at this time.
Just additional authority, it came to my attention after I filed my response. I basically am in court.
So once again, I have to voice my objection.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm the moving party, and I'd like to address the court before Mr. Polkowski says a word. And based on situations and circumstances.
And then we have Bailiff Tom. Bailiff Tom steps in with his clipboard and his stipulation, and he says, hey, you gotta sign this. And I say, I'm not signing it. And then he's like, oh, we can't hear your case. Well, like, he's the one that makes that determination? Who the heck is this guy? He's a bailiff.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that.
And then Mr. Polkowski comes in, and even though I'm somewhat procedurally out of order, well, no, you're definitely procedurally out of order, so shut up.
Although procedurally I may be somewhat out of order,
And then you hear Mr. Polkowski come in and say that one of the rights Mr. Alexander is alleging that he's violating is his right to counsel, and he wants to hold the matter over until Friday.
I would ask it be settled until Friday, since one of the rights that Mr. Alexander is stating that violating is his right to counsel on the underlying contempt action, and if it was continued until Friday, the public defender will be present, could advise him on that issue.
Hey, Joe.
First issue we should take up is whether or not he's representing himself, or whether or not he wants a public defender.
Okay, those of you that think Mr. Alexander wants a public defender, please raise your hand.
Mr. Alexander, you know I can't proceed without a stipulation. Do you wish me to send this over to the presiding judge?
No, I don't want you to send this over to the presiding judge. I want to just spin this in your face. Hold
Your
on.
Honor, let me briefly address the court.
It will have to be brief, Mr.
Briefly,
Alexander.
Your Honor.
Okay, it'll have to be brief because I have 4 trials scheduled and I'm just too damn busy for
Because I
justice.
do have 4 trials.
Pursuant to documents filed in the United States District Court this day, Fresno County Superior Court judges in bank, including all of full court, are named expect adverse parties in a federal class action lawsuit. Thus, it would be appropriate for any Fresno County Superior Court judge to hear this case.
So I name the full court and bank. That means all the judges inclusively. And in doing so, it creates a conflict of interest, so nobody can hear the case. So then comes the fun part. Now it's time to place Mr. Polkowski under citizen's arrest. So I start with the 3 elements necessary to perform a citizen's arrest under California law, Penal Code Section 837.
Equally, it is my intent, pursuant to my authority under California Penal Code Section 837, place Mr. Polkowski under citizen's arrest.
So immediately the judge hears the magic words, bing, 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 authority, citizen's arrest. She's all, what? What are the charges?
Basis.
So then I cite the charges. I start with Penal Code Section 166, which is contempt. If you bring proceedings before the court that are false or fraudulent, that's contempt. If you lie in front of the court and file false documents, that's contempt. So the other 2 charges were Penal Code Section 422.6 and 422.7, which is discrimination against a qualified individual with a disability or discriminating against a handicapped person. In this case, those statutes are threats, intimidation, coercion, etc.
Violation of Penal Code Section 166 as well as 422.6.
All right, so he arrests them now. So he arrests them, okay? So now, right, but they don't take him into custody afterwards. So, but, you know, so what's the purpose of all that?
Well, because the prosecutor, actually, he didn't get thrown in jail.
Okay,
Can you hear me okay?
yeah. go ahead.
They didn't arrest him. They didn't arrest him.
No, the reason they didn't arrest him is because the prosecutor knows due process of law, and he offered remedy and solved the problem. That way he didn't have to go to jail, because they can't just incarcerate you if you know the law. In fact, you have the right to demand upon arrest to be taken before a judge immediately. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. You take my ass right before a judge now.
Now, that's been challenged now by this, even in the Supreme Court, and they can make you wait a day.
Well, that's actually a violation of the Constitution, and so you would want to challenge that in a higher court. That would be the way to argue that situation. Or what would be better is if you actually had a true common law established court and you heard it before a jury.
One more thing, Eric. What if they take you before a magistrate?
Well, then you have to understand how to navigate with a magistrate. They're trying to administer your trust. You have to understand the jurisdictions. It's all about jurisdiction.
Magistrate here in North Carolina. That's why they take you right before a magistrate, right
That's
away.
because they're trying to probate you. They're trying to probate you. So they're going to administer you as a piece of property. Yeah, I'm familiar with those processes as well. They're dastardly. I mean, they're definitely very crafty. And
so how do you get out of the magistrate thing then? What do you say to them? If I'm right now,
it depends. There's no magic fix to any of this. You have to be able to adapt to the situation. It's a battlefield, and you have to be able to adapt to the battlefield. And so that's why, because there's certain actions you can take. Like, for example, when you're a per se litigant, you can call for a period of recess so that you have time to prepare your case appropriately, right? So if there's crime being committed and you don't know exactly how to handle it right in the moment, there's a way for you to put a estoppel in place until you can go and build your either defense or your prosecution appropriately.
But they, they turn around and say, Eric, they're going to say, well, this is only probable cause. We're only setting your bond right now. That's what the magistrate.
Well, no, then you have to be able to prove that you're not a pauper. You have to tell them that bond is not you. You are not a straw man, and you will not be administered as such. There's ways to handle these things in their jurisdiction, but you have to be crafty. Catherine said it best: stay out of their jurisdiction. I agree.
I agree, but you can't. But sometimes a lot of people can't. They come get you. They come kidnap you. I mean, you're going to make mistakes in life.
Unfortunately, there's going to be casualties and things like this, and those are just the casualties at this point, right? It's unfortunate, but that's what we're doing this for. That's why we have to at least keep trying, because if we don't keep trying, then we're allowing it to happen.
All right,
and
one
what
last
kind
question.
of an American
One last question. I know all the things that you're saying. Let's say I get before the match and they just flat out ignore you.
That's a possibility, but you have to keep appealing until you can take it into an Article 3 court. And if they don't hear you there, then you're a political prisoner. That's what's going to happen to a lot of
North Carolina. Where is
that's what's going to happen to a lot of the J6ers.
There is no Article 3 court in North Carolina.
Oh, yes, there is. There's
Where?
districts in North Carolina.
Yeah. What, the U.S. District Federal Court you're talking about?
Yeah, there's U.S. District Federal Courts there. What was the guy's video? Let me ask you that before, and then I'll look up the district court, the federal district court, some of them in North Carolina.
I know they got one in Greensboro, but they don't recognize common law, because I already talked to the clerk up there.
You're not in common law. You have to go in their jurisdiction to try them.
You want to post in the chat room the link to that video?
Yeah, if you would, please.
All right, hang on one second.
Yeah, I watched that video. I don't know if it was because you sent, not that video. I watched the video of Alexander, Mr. Alexander. The one that you have where somebody's narrating it. I'd like to see that one too. But I watched the one of the actual court hearing.
Yeah.
The actual video from the court. I guess it was.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
might
where
have
the
sent
guy
it, Mike,
was
yeah,
doing his thing.
Yeah. I'll
And
try to find that, Mike.
yeah, the guy seemed to know his stuff, but he said he learned it all quickly just to go to
Yeah,
court
yeah,
that
yeah,
day.
yeah. Yeah, you read the comments? Yeah.
No, he said it. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. In his
I read
comment.
a lot of the comments. I was looking at what, because I like to see what happened afterwards, how he made out in life,
Right. I wish there was a follow-up video to that.
Yeah.
Well, he did an outstanding job of controlling the conditions proceeding,
Yeah.
which is what I tell people to try and learn is how
What
to
is
control
that? The civil uniform code of civil, what is it called again? What's the,
28 USC 1746 Pren 1.
no, but what's the book or law book or rule book they call for procedures for court? Is it the, first of all, what is UCC again? That's I always
United
forget.
States Code.
UCC?
USC is what I was quoting. 28
Right.
USC.
Right. Well, what is UCC again?
Uniform Commercial Code.
Right. Uniform Commercial Code. Isn't that what the legalese go by? Is the Uniform
Yeah,
Commercial
what about
Code?
this one about the traveling, Mike? This one right here. You ever see this
Wait,
one?
wait. Hold on, Joseph. Isn't the Uniform Commercial Code what the bar goes by? Their legalese and all that?
Well, that's part of it. It's either Roman civil law or it's Admiralty maritime or merchant law. Yeah.
Because you
that's the
mentioned
universal
earlier how
code.
the FBI told you stay away from UCC.
UCC filings. That's right. Mhm.
What's
Because the UCC is a vastly complex system of law. And if you make mistakes, then you'll definitely end up deep in a federal
What
penitentiary.
about secured party creditor?
That stuff, stay away from that kind of crap, man. Stay away from all that. Just anything that tries to attack the Treasury direct accounts or the trusts at this point is foolishness because for one thing, there's not real money in it. It's all credit. It's all social credit. That's the one thing these gurus miss is they're trying to tap into a social credit system that doesn't have any actual physical backing. That's why they make straw men and hypothecate financial instruments off your social security number. That's what the whole system is built on, fraud.
No, this one's 2 minutes long. This is the guy in North Carolina that didn't need a
Well,
driver's license.
hey guys, I'm gonna have to jump off of here. I need to call my boy. So
All right.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
Mike,
Eric. Thanks for coming to the
Wait,
farewell party.
Eric, one quick question, please.
sure, Nick.
Rick Martin, you don't care for him? Your tone sounded like,
I just anybody that's I don't care for anybody. I'm very standoffish with people in general. I'm very skeptical. And I've had a run-in with Nick. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying that his help is not always the help that people need.
I looked up that indemnity bond stuff, Mike, and I'll tell you what, he's full of crap. I couldn't find nothing on it.
Who's that?
Rick Martin with these indemnity bonds. He said, you go after the sheriff's bond and the insurance company, you contact them and everything. All I did was keep spinning around in circles when I started researching it.
Well, some of them are bonded.
Yeah.
Some of them are
But
bonded.
how do you arrest the sheriff? How do you arrest the bond then? How do you arrest it? How do you seize his bond? How do you put a lien against their bond? They won't, there's no paperwork to do it.
Well, it's a process.
You got to get a
and
judgment.
I'm not exactly familiar with that process in every state because it varies a little bit, but I do know people that are. I do work with some people that do know about that kind of stuff. There was a group called Bonds for the Win a while back, and they were pretty successful in certain states with it. They sure were. They shut down school boards and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, the best thing to do is to just establish your common law republic form of governance, because that's constitutionally sound. It can't be challenged. The jurisdiction is legitimate. It's unpopulated. And once it's repopulated, then we can deal with things accordingly. There is precedent on the law already. And again, you know, it's not going to be a perfect thing. Nothing in this world is, but it's really the only chance we have at this point, from my opinion.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of the people, you know, where are the people
Yeah.
that are going to step up to be a part of
Right.
that.
Here, here.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
thanks,
problem,
Eric.
Nick.
We'll be in
Yep.
touch, brother.
All right. Yeah. Y'all have a
God
blessed
bless you,
night.
man. Have a good
God
night.
Blessed
bless you.
Christmas too.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Blessed Christmas.
All right, see you later.
We were
All right,
just,
guys.
Mike, while you were gone, Rick came, Joseph brought up your son, and I said we hadn't had any update as far as what Rick Martin's help was. And then
Right.
Eric kind of said, Rick's going to help him, huh? Kind of chuckled. So I was
Right.
just trying to get.
Yeah, well,
his-
we'll see where it goes. I mean, I'll keep everybody posted on that. You know, Rick, sometimes he's hard to get in touch with. I mean, I know he's going through some personal struggles of his own right now. So, you know,
Well, here's a guy right here, common law right here. Common law explores why the Supreme Court's most famous libel case is still generating debates. Professor Frederick Schaick discusses the ongoing impact of New York Times CO v. Sullivan. He won $500,000 in Alabama. So the man rampant false information causing some experts to reconsider the landmark case, Supreme Court case that established modern libel law. Professor Frederick Schaick explains that the latest common law, a podcast at University of Virginia Law School, basically, I guess he challenged the sovereign stuff or whatever. He said he does a radio show about it.
yeah.
I mean, you know, like I said, it's just again, you know, I just don't see any victories with this, Mike. I just don't see anybody winning, man. I've been
Well, yeah, well,
years
you
I've been
know,
studying this stuff, and they don't see anybody
right,
winning.
right. And we haven't seen any victories with the Republic. We haven't seen any victories with anything. The only
Yeah.
way we're gonna get victories is for the people, and the people are all being stupefied and dumbed
Numbers.
down.
Numbers.
You got to go with the Republic. You can go with that lawful de jure way, like the Republic
See,
says.
that just seems like, I'm telling you, the more
Who do we
that I
go with
hear
then,
that-
Mike? We go with Eric? We go with one person? I mean, who's, you know, what do
No,
we do?
it's got to be the people. Even with the Republic,
It's-
they say they need 30,000 people in every state. Where are those 30,000 people in every state? Because those 30,000 people in every state they need should be doing what Eric's saying anyway.
But you're going to have standing on the global stage eventually, you know?
We already
go
have
with-
standing. The
we go with-
No, but
Constitution
de
has
facto you
standing.
do.
The Constitution has standing. And like Eric said, common law is based upon it. It's secured by it. God's law has standing. Common law has standing internationally. Common law has standing
Because
internationally.
the Republic, listen, we went over all this already.
The Republic is about common law and God's law.
Yes. But unless we go and by way of the Northwest Ordinance, J Treaty, the only way we're going to do this. And we need to
Eric's
do-
all for that. He agrees with the Northwest Treaty and says that's a big part of it.
Well, where is everybody then around the country?
Exactly. That's the question, is where is everybody? And that's why I guess I'm finally going to take a hiatus. So that's
What?
why this is my farewell speech,
What do you
right?
mean a farewell speech? What are you talking about?
Well, you'll listen to the video when I upload it later.
So no more meetings then.
Right. Yeah. I'm not coming on anymore on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 anymore.
Oh,
It's
God.
no, it's just a matter. It's not that I'm quitting. I'm not quitting. It's just that I'm going through my personal crises now as well. I'm broke. I got no money. I got no support. I got nothing to do. I don't even know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to just, turn this off and get my guitar and start going to the park every day and try to recover my 150 songs and try to get gigs again. But again, I discussed that in this video. If you watch it, I discussed the whole thing about why I don't even want to do that, why I'm turned off by the world, why I'm turned off by the systems of this world. I have no motivation or interest to do anything in any of the systems of this world. And if you don't have that, right? So what am I going to do? I don't even know what to do. So right now I'm going through that crisis in
So
my
what were
life.
you trying to do here? Make an income?
Well, let me use this as an example. When I was doing the bigvirushoax.com, let me make it real clear for you and for anybody that watches this. When I first started doing the bigvirushoax.com, the first 3 months, I didn't even have a donate page, and it wasn't about money at all. I was just trying to get the truth out about viruses and vaccines. But 3 months into it, when I lost all my gigs because they shut everything down, and Uber fired me for not wearing a face diaper, And I started seeing that everybody else on the internet has donate links and asks for support. I said, well, I guess I'll put a donate page and ask for donations. That'll help me get by. Well, for the next year and a half, I had some significant supporters. I don't know how many people out there can say because of their efforts, they had somebody give them a $2,000 check and a $1,000 check and a $1,500 PayPal deposit, and a $500 check, and several $100 donations. Which to me, the point of me even saying that is that I must have been doing something pretty damn important and pretty damn good if there were people that were willing to give that kind of money to assist me in my efforts. And of course I was. So as time went on, I discovered this thing called subscribestar.com, so I figured, well, I'll try it. I use Subscribestar. And lo and behold, one day I had a subscriber, $5 a month. And then I had a subscriber for $5 a month. And then I had another subscriber for $10 a month. And then I had 5 subscribers. And then I was up to 10 subscribers, and then 15, and then 20. And when I went to 20, within 2 weeks, it went up to 23, and then back to 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. So it peaked at 23 and almost instantly started going back the other way. And
Wow.
right about that time was when they started opening things up again, and people didn't seem to have as much stress about the virus issue. And I've gone from 23 supporters on Subscribestar, which at that point, there were 2 people that were doing $200 a month, a bunch for 5 and some for 10, a couple for 20 and one for 30. So it was about $400 a month. While all that was going on, I would frequently put out videos saying, if I can get more supporters, if I can get the support, I will hit the road. I will go county to county, sheriff to sheriff, mayor to mayor, state to state, governor to governor, bringing the laws, U.S. Code 42, U.S. Code 18, U.S. Code, Americans with Disabilities Act, Title II and Title III, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, video record these politicians, put them on record where they stand. I will hit the road for the people, because if they're going to support my effort, that's what I'll do. And I'm hearing all this talk about Alex Jones making $50 million a year, whatever, and he ain't doing shit. I'm the only one that's really doing something. In fact, before you came on earlier, Joe, I mentioned that when I put out my message the other day asking for supporters, I put it on Gab, and I noticed one person made a comment. They said, I agree with this. This guy's the best on the internet. This guy's been doing more than anybody on the internet. He deserves support. He'd been, and he wrote a comment, and I appreciated it. But the point is, yes, I began seeking supporters because that equated to the more support I get, the more I can do. I wanted to do, right? Upload videos of sheriffs and mayors and politicians and, reading the laws to them. Where do you stand on this? And I actually
Mike,
did.
I have a media page. You can still do that. You see, you
I actually did quite a few.
You didn't go to the next level, Mike.
I did do quite a few videos like that. But the
You
point is,
you didn't monetize your videos the proper way. You didn't have meta accounts on Facebook. You didn't do it the right way. There's ways to.
But again, most of my stuff gets taken down from Facebook, taken down from YouTube. So then I started having to find alternative platforms.
Yeah.
So I've done my best. I mean, I've done a lot,
There's ways
and
to
the
do it,
support
Mike.
went up, and then it went down. I had 6 people at PayPal, and that went down to 2. Now I have one that just came on last month, actually a new one for $30 a month. It helps me, but
Mike,
I got no
have a
money.
state-
I got
Mike, I
nothing.
have a state
I'm
registered-
completely, I don't have a job. Not only do I not work or not have a job, or I don't have an income, but
Yep.
I don't know what to do if I did. And I
You can
need
get
to
on the
do
internet and
something.
Make plenty of money, Mike. You just got to.
The point is, I need to do something.
well, if you
I need
shut up
some
long
kind of
enough, you might
transition.
learn.
I don't know what it is. So right now, I know that that's what's going to be happening, is my mind is going to be focusing on that reality. And therefore, this is going to go by the wayside. I know it. So I have to do it in a more productive fashion and in a way where it's not that I'm quitting. I'm just saying that I'm not going to be coming on. I'm not going to be coming on the Sunday, Wednesday 6. I'm not coming on. It's not a commitment. What I'll do is whenever there's an issue or I want to discuss something, if that happens or something's happening or I want to share, I'll send out an email for people that, hey, I'm going to be on Zoom tonight and anybody can come on. But I can't right now be every day just thinking about okay, let me do my Zoom meetings on Sunday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and take the time to upload them to YouTube, download them to my computer, upload them to all these video platforms, post them all over Gab and Facebook and Twitter and Minds and everything all the time, every day, creating memes. Plus, I told Charles Friday that even the thing I was going to do with him, it's on the back burner. The big virus hoax, you know, filing a complaint with Charles, which is out the window now anyway, because the guy's a loon. I told him, that's on the back burner, man. Right now I got to be thinking about my life, my money, my livelihood. What am I going to do? And I don't even know what I'm going to do. So right now I'm going through my own personal trauma, and I'm going through a transition.
Hey, Mike,
I'm not going through a transition. I
Mike.
need to go through a transition. I need to have a
Mike.
transition into what I
Mike.
don't know.
Mike,
Yeah.
I've been looking for people, look, that are internet savvy. I got one guy out in California now, but it's like pulling teeth to get him. He's just started a new job. I can link up. I already have it, actually. I have publishing accounts on Amazon. Okay. I finally got them all reconnected and set up. Where Amazon will stream videos. I have the videos. I have the public domain videos. I own the copyright to many of the videos. I have it all. My father was doing all that for me, but he passed away. I just need someone who's savvy enough, who understands how to upload videos and create these videos. And you'd have to go do a team viewer with me, go into my computer with me, and I'd show you everything, what I would need done. And Amazon will pay you a royalty check every single month. Guaranteed. I did it for 7 years. Okay.
Well,
So-
like what kind of royalty based on what? And because I've seen all kinds of gimmicks and bullshit out there. And I'm
Not
tired
again,
of
I
all the
just told you I
bullshit.
did it for 7 years, Mike, and I paid taxes on the money and everything and did all that. So I do GMG Media. That was my company and information publishing. You can look it up. All right. So I just it would require. It's hard for me to explain. You see, this is the problem I run into. It's hard for me to articulate it in words. I have to show you.
Well, there must be a
And-
video or something I can watch on it.
Yeah, there is. You'd have to go to my publishing page to watch it. Yes, there is. But you'd have to upload the videos, and you have to recreate the video. You have to be computer savvy. I'm not. So you have to understand how to make videos and how to do that. And then if you could do that and publish the videos, we could split the royalties, you and me.
Yeah. Well,
Mike, I was making $12,000 a month.
well, I need to
7
know.
years. For 7
Yeah.
years.
Well, why aren't you doing it? Why did you stop? Or why did you not?
Because I told you, my dad was handling it for me. He got sick. My sister took over, screwed it all up, and it's a long story, but it had to be shut down for about a year. So I need to get it back up and running.
I mean, see, you understand there's some holes in that story, right? It makes no sense.
There is, but this is where you don't need to analyze my story. I'll show you what needs to be done. If you want to do it, make money, then you can do it. If not, then fine. Go sing in the park.
Right. And I would say, yeah, and I would say, well, then why don't I just do my own videos and do that? But I already know the answer
Because
to
you
that.
won't get a publishing account on Amazon. That's why.
No, not only that, but they would not publish my stuff. They would ban me. They wouldn't let me put my
Not
stuff
necessarily.
necessarily. Put it like this. If we start putting my stuff on your account will get terminated.
You think so?
I'm sure of it.
Well, I have it. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's try it. I have 3 Facebook accounts, business meta accounts where I can publish. We'll try putting one of your videos up there. I'll publish it. I'll publish it. I know how to do that. Download it and put it up there and see if it gets kicked off. I have a classic cartoons page that's associated with Gibson Media.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that and
All
see
right,
if that's
all right,
something
yeah.
I can do.
Yeah, I mean, you want to make money. I'm just trying to tell you, there's ideas out there. You want to know why I learned it? Because one day, remember Phil Spector? Remember he was going to trial for murder? And I was watching that trial, and they said, how do you make your income, sir? And he said, royalties. And I said, royalties? And I started looking into it, how he made his money and everything. I was like, damn, man. And I started talking to my dad about that, and we did it. You know, just sit back and collect a royalty check every month. How can you do that? Well, you got all these places like Amazon out there that are streaming movies, streaming videos. Where do these videos come from? Who creates them? Who gives them to Amazon? Somebody has to, right? So, you know, that's what we did. So, it's a way, it can be done. Trust me, it can be done. But there's a lot of red tape to it. If you miss one email from Amazon, you have to be run like a business, If you don't do something the right way, they'll flag you and they'll take down the video. You know what I mean? So, but once they're up and published, forget about it. It's money in the bank, man. Money in the bank.
Yeah, well, that's the point. They always look. I don't like those All right, really.
I know, Mike.
I
It's got
don't
a
like
view
those
of-
communist bastards that
I
run
know.
YouTube, Google, Facebook, and Amazon. They're a bunch of communist bastards. They know who I am. So if I'm going to be doing this with you, we're going to have to do it where they have no clue that I'm doing it with you, or they'll
That's
shut
fine.
it down.
That's fine.
I had a book I wrote called Left versus White. And it's all it was making the point of how the leftist liberal progressive side is attacking white Christian American patriots. And it made the point well. It didn't have any cuss words in it, didn't have any porn in it, it didn't have any accusations, it didn't have any hate speech in it, nothing. It was a book with my ideas about what's going on politically and socially. And it took off within 6 weeks. It was the number one. It said
Really?
number one bestseller on new books on Amazon. And it went where it was one a day, two, 4 a day, 5, 6. And the day that it peaked at 9 books in one day, the next day it was down. Why? Because they were like, what's this book that's taken off? All of a sudden it did 9 today. I wonder what that's about. Let me check it out. Left versus white. They took it down. They're a bunch of communist
That makes
bastards.
no sense, Mike, because there's so many books on Amazon, like a KDP account and stuff like that. My book is published there.
That's what
So
I
don't
had. Was a
understand.
KDP account. It was on
Yeah, I
KDP.
don't understand why they took it down on you then. I don't get that.
Because I was addressing the synagogue of Satan.
But there's books up there that do that, though. I mean, there's like a New World Order. I mean, for God's sake, 1984 is up
Well, they took
You
it
know?
down. They banned
Wow.
they banned my
there. You must
account.
have not done something right. It's just that's the only way I can think of, because they are anal and retentive, Amazon. If you don't do something right, they take it down.
No, it was running along smooth, man, and just selling
Wow.
books.
Wow.
I was selling ebooks and paperbacks, and
Wow.
paperbacks.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
I'll show you the book.
That's weird, man. I'll show you a DVD that we made.
This one right here.
Okay. Wow, really? Let me show you.
Yeah,
a
but
DVD.
it's just a thin little 86.
Show you what
page.
we were making. Let me show you what we made. Right, right. See that right there? And then that's the
Uh-huh.
cover right there. And then you go and you open it up right here, that right there.
Yeah,
Those we were selling these things like hotcakes,
yeah.
And now you get it into the video format. You put that in the video format, and they stream it. And you can stream it, and then people download it, and you make royalties every month. So
Yeah,
it-
The contents in this book, man, my eyes are hitting. Chapter 1, the root of the problem. Chapter 2, left versus right equals left versus white. Chapter 3,
Can I have
morality.
an ISBN number?
Yeah. Chapter 3, morality. Chapter 4, the reality of races. 5, the
See
media.
the book again, Mike. Let me see the book. again.
6, political hijacking, Trump deception and Q psyop. Chapter 7, religious minds. Chapter 8, identifying the enemy. Chapter 9, technological control over all people. Chapter 10, the white solution.
Let me see the book again, Mike. Let me see it front and back. Let me see it.
I've sold about 40
Turn
just
it around. Turn it around.
through my
Turn it around.
website.
Let me see the back. Yeah, you got the. Yeah, it looks like. Man, wonder what the heck's wrong with that, man. Wonder why it's not selling. Why they took it down. I don't understand it. Huh. Wow. Well,
They're communists, and I
Yeah, I
addressed
know,
them.
I know.
I addressed the communists in the book. That's why they took it down.
I know they
Synagogue
are.
of Satan by Andrew Carrington Hitchcock was taken down from Amazon too, right, Nick?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and Michael Hoffman's books, Judaism Discovered, and those kind
Wow.
of books.
Well,
I mean, you should read the book. It's not that long. My dad read it and said, damn, that was good, Mike. My son read
Really?
it and he was like, yeah, that was really good, Dad. It was just pretty much stuff in my mind that I decided to type down.
Well,
and
you
try-
got, yeah, well, damn, man, maybe something's gotta be, was it edited?
I did it all myself. I wrote it, I edited it, I used
Oh, you
Microsoft
don't have a
Word,
publishing company. That's what it is. You didn't have a publishing company, right?
self-published through
Self-
KDP.
Yeah, that's why, you see, yep. Yeah, see, I have a publishing company, Worldwide Unique Media.
KDP.
Yeah, I know,
I've-
but, yeah.
Well,
I
well,
know.
publish and sell this and see how far it gets.
Yeah, Worldwide, you need to put our stamp on it. Yeah, we'll go, we'll talk. We'll talk. Like I said, I'm about that, what your idea is, making money, man. But yeah, I mean, because you got to survive,
Right. And that's where my mind is going right now. So I know because of that, everything I've been doing is just again, it's the fact that the way my mind works is I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, which is why I've been the way I've been with the Big Virus Hoax and Righteous Army, all out, and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
So as soon as I say something else matters, this is going to go by the wayside. That's just the way my mind works. I've never been much of a multitasker to begin with, other than in the area that I'm good at, like in music. I worked at a music store. I ran the music school. I gave guitar lessons. I gave piano lessons. I gave bass lessons. I gave drum lessons. I gave percussion lessons. I gave vocal lessons. That's all in my area. That's multitasking in an area that my mind works. But like when I was a waiter years ago, man, I forgot a water. Oh, they sat down. I forgot to give them their salad. Oh, this one's food's cold in the back. You know what I mean? That multitasking, mindset. I never had it going on because my mind's a creative mind. I'm a philosopher. That's why this book, it's really a philosophical kind of political and social book and a spiritual kind of, basis.
Yeah.
And it was taken off big time. It was going to go gold, man. And the bastards took it down. It really pissed me off. And so
Wow.
I'm jaded. I told you before I was making $1,000 a day using Google AdWords and Google. I had a thing called beachwearbabes.com. I said, a friend of mine had bikinis and he said, we'll sell these.
Before you do say that, I'm off.
All right, bud. All right.
And yeah, Godspeed, and then until we meet again.
Yeah, I don't want to go anymore anyway either.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
going to sign off and we'll be in touch, you guys.
Yeah, we'll talk. All
right. All right. God bless you, Nick. Thank you, man. God bless.
That's what I was going to say. Sandy Hook, Nobody Died at Sandy Hook by James Fetzer.
Okay.
That was selling 400 copies and then Amazon took it off.
Wow.
Right.
I've got a PDF of it, but yeah, we got to kill these censors, guys.
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
All right,
man.
buddy. Good night,
All right.
guys. Take care, guys. So, yeah, this is my farewell for now. Farewell to the American people. Michael Van Schaick, aka Mike Singer, the founder of The Big Virus Hoax, HOAX, thebigvirushoax.com, and Righteous, that's RIGHTEOUS, righteousarmy.org. Signing off for an indefinite period of time. God bless everybody. God bless America. Take care.